Germany of Iron and Blood. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Daimler Sedan. The French can think of such a way to solve the recoil problem of the artillery. It has to be said that it is admirable. They actually want to hide its performance. Obviously, they want to wait until the war starts and cheat the empire. Gustave Krupp said. Qin Tian nodded. The performance of the French 75mm field gun on the battlefield was indeed amazing. However, even so, it still cannot restore the decline of the French army on the battlefield. Mr. Krupp, after knowing the method used by the French, can we develop a similar cannon and apply it to other cannons to increase the rate of fire of our cannon as much as possible? Qin Tian asked. His Royal Highness, it should not be a big problem. With Krupp's technical strength, it is easy to do this. Gustave Krupp said proudly. Although, the solution to the recoil of the artillery that the French thought of was very subtle. However, German technology is definitely not bad. After learning the method adopted by the French, they were able to imitate it immediately and even make further improvements on this basis. If this is the case, it would be great. I hope that, once the war starts, our artillery will be able to let the French and other enemies know how powerful we are. Qin Tian is full of expectations for the future war. His Royal Highness, it will definitely be like that. Gustave Krupp said firmly. Qin Tian's trip to Krupp this time can be said to be fruitful. Not only did Krupp agree to speed up the development of larger caliber naval guns, but it also allowed them to start the development of new infantry artillery. Of course, the biggest achievement is that the two parties partnered to establish a German arms company and entered the field of light weapons. Qin Tian left the Krupp company after seeing off the Krupp couple. If the standard equipment of the German army can be changed because of this, the combat effectiveness may be further improved. In that case, it will be easier to defeat those opponents in future wars. Qin Tian secretly thought. In order to improve the combat effectiveness of the German army, Qin Tian spared no effort. From the navy to the army, he thought of all the ways he could think of. It would be unreasonable if the German army hadn't won the war despite all his efforts. After meeting with the Krupps, Qin Tian didn't stay in Berlin for long. A few days later, he received a notice from Paul Daimler, the general manager of Daimler, to Stuttgart. Daimler has been developing rapidly during this period, and its motorcycles have been rising steadily. Not only caused a wave of sales in Germany, but also exported to other European countries and even the United States. Many young men and women, in order to buy motorcycles produced by Daimler, give everything they have. Under such circumstances, even if Qin Tian donated motorcycles worth 50 million marks to the military, that would be nothing. After all, just 2 motorcycles are enough to make a lot of profits for Daimler. His Royal Highness, welcome to Stuttgart. Paul Daimler had a smile on his face. Although Daimler AG has become a subsidiary of Deutsche Motor Vehicle Manufacturing Company, the profits of the Daimler family have also been reduced to 5%. However, the profit brought by this 5% stake is obviously much more than that of the previous Daimler. Mr. Daimler, hello, I can see that you are in a good mood. Qin Tian said with a smile. His Royal Highness, of course. You don't know how popular our products are now. The factory is already working on 3 shifts, but it still can't meet the demand of the market. The new factory is also under construction, and it is estimated that it will be put into production in a month. At that time, it will relieve our pressure to some extent. Paul Daimler said. In order to meet market demand and further increase market share, Daimler began to expand production capacity frantically so as to seize as much market share as possible before other competitors develop the same type of products. Qin Tian nodded. It is very necessary to expand the company's production capacity. In this way, more markets can be obtained and more profits can be obtained at the same time. Of course, further research and development of new products cannot be given up. Otherwise, it will soon be surpassed by competitors. It is impossible for any company to continue to develop with only one product. How is the research and development of new products going? Qin Tian asked. Your Highness, according to your request, we have already started the research on the second generation motorcycle. Mr. Maybach, you are now in charge of the research and development of new products. The progress is very fast. It is expected that our second generation motorcycle will be able to complete the research and development next year now, said Paul Daimler. Although, he has some disagreements with Qin Tian's request to develop new products, thinking that their motorcycles will not be challenged by competitors so soon. However, he didn't dare to refuse Qin Tian's request, so he could only follow through. Although developing new products will cost a lot of money, but now the company's profits are so amazing that it is enough to support the development of new products. Qin Tian nodded. I have to speed up the production of motorcycles that I personally donated to the military. Yes, Your Highness. Although this will squeeze the company's production capacity, Paul Daimler has no objection to this. Now, Qin Tian's status is different. When Qin Tian bought Daimler before, he was just an ordinary prince. And now, Qin Tian has become the crown prince of the empire. The army is an important supporter of Qin Tian, so it is natural to give priority to meeting the military's requirements. Wrinkled accompanied by Paul Daimler, Qin Tian came to Daimler again. Qin Tian didn't go to the office, but went straight to the R&D department. Because the main purpose of his visit to Daimler this time is to take a look at Daimler's new products in the upgraded version of the Phoenix car, which is officially named after Daimler. Your Highness, you are here. This is a new generation of car developed according to your requirements. I have to admit that this is a work of art. William Maybach looked excited. He believes that once their car is put into the market, it will cause such a big sensation. This will be a shock to the entire automobile industry. This will also give Daimler, after motorcycles, a second major product. Qin Tian nodded and looked at the car parked in the R&D department. Although it is still not as good as the cars of the later generations, it already has the characteristics of the cars of the later generations. Chapter 102, Automotive Industry Benchmark. The streamlined body, large headlights, rear view mirrors, turn signals, leather seats, and the engine and gearbox provided by Dutch engine manufacturing company make this car a huge difference compared with the current mainstream cars different. It can be said that this is completely an epoch-making change. Qin Tian can guarantee that once the new Daimler car is launched, it will definitely sweep Mercedes-Benz and other car brands into the trash. Not bad, very good. I believe it will be a masterpiece. Qin Tian praised. With the technological strength of this era, it is already very good to be able to develop such a car. After hearing Qin Tian's appreciation, both William Maybach and Paul Daimler had smiles on their faces. Your Highness, when will this sedan be available for sale? Paul Daimler asked. Obviously, this is another product that has caught the attention of the market. Similarly, this means huge profits. It's the end of the year now. Let's wait until January 1st next year. However, there is still 1 month left. Can we prepare for the listing? Qin Tian asked. Your Highness, we have already started mass production of this car when it was developed. However, the current output is not large. After 1 month, the monthly output can be increased to about 5,000. In this case, it can almost satisfy the German domestic market. Paul Daimler said. Current cars are still luxury goods. Not everyone can afford them. Often only the rich can afford it. In addition, the current level of comfort in cars is not high, and some people even prefer to take a horse-drawn carriage rather than a car. Therefore, there are not many sales of cars. Of course, if Daimler can develop a larger market, then they may have to further increase production. Qin Tian shook his head. 5,000 cars a month is not enough at all. I firmly believe that the automobile field is a huge market, but this market has not been released. Once released, it will be a huge market. Therefore, our company's output must be gradually increased, and it is best to reach a monthly output of 50,000 or even more. 50,000 vehicles. Didn't there be 600,000 vehicles in that year? Paul Daimler and William Maybach were both shocked beyond measure. From the invention of the automobile to the present, the sum of all the automobiles produced in various countries is probably not 600,000. Therefore, in their opinion, Qin Tian's production requirement is really too advanced. Increasing the output to 50,000 vehicles will not be achieved overnight. I hope that within the next 3 years, this goal can be achieved, Qin Tian said. He knew very well how crazy the sales would be after Ford launched the Model T on the other side of the ocean. Yes, Your Highness. Although there were still many doubts in their stomachs, Paul Daimler and William Maybach had no choice but to suppress the doubts in their hearts and obey Qin Tian's arrangement. They also believed that with Qin Tian's foresight, the prediction would definitely not be wrong. How much does our Daimler cost? How much is the price going to be? Qin Tian asked. Your Highness, after mass production, the cost of the Daimler sedan has reached 7,000 marks, and we tentatively set the price at 10,000 marks. Paul Daimler said. Qin Tian nodded. The price of 10,000 marks is not expensive, and indeed it is not very expensive. But if it's cheap, it's definitely not cheap. The average working class can't afford it at all. At least people above the middle class can afford it. Of course, the price of 10,000 marks is not high compared to this Daimler sedan. This car is totally worth the price. Even compared with other cars of the same price, the cost performance has a crushing advantage. The price of 10,000 marks is more appropriate. However, there are still too few people who can afford it. Qin Tian sighed. His Royal Highness, cars are inherently expensive commodities, and ordinary people cannot afford them. Paul Daimler said. It's true to say that, but if Daimler wants to be the benchmark in the automotive industry, then we have to find a way to make cars affordable for everyone. This car, I plan to name it Daimler on the basis of the B-Class sedan. The Research and Development Department further conducted research and development, and developed 2 sedans, namely the Daimler A-Class sedan and the Daimler C-Class sedan. Among them, the A-Class sedan is positioned as a luxury car, while the C-Class car is positioned as a car that the general public can afford. Qin Tian said. Paul, Daimler and William Maybach, the expressions on the faces of both became serious. They naturally hope that Daimler will become the benchmark of the automotive industry. Therefore, for Qin Tian's strategy, he naturally attached great importance to it. The so-called A-Class car refers to the lengthening of the car body and the expansion of the space inside the car on the basis of the B-Class car. At the same time, the interior decoration of the car is improved, the taste of the car is improved, the shock absorption system is improved, and the ride comfort is improved. Speed and so on. Let the A-Class sedan become the car of choice for the rich. In this way, we can make our A-Class sedan a luxury car in everyone's mind. And the C-Class sedan can shorten the body length. The top can also be made of canvas instead of steel plate. The seat does not need to be made of leather, but can be made of fabric directly. The performance of the engine does not need to be so high, and the maximum speed can be controlled at 40 km to 50 km per hour. All in all, it is to further reduce the cost under the premise of ensuring the reliability and safety of the car, so as to control the selling price. It is best to control the selling price below 2,000 marks. If you save a little, you can afford a car. Qin Tian said. The concept of A-Class car and C-Class car made Paul Daimler and William Maybach dumbfounded. At the same time, this method also gave them a sense of enlightenment. If Daimler can provide the market with 3 types of cars, high, middle, and low, so as to realize the occupation of the entire automobile field, it will make Daimler become a giant in the automobile industry and a benchmark in the industry. In the future, Daimler's position in the industry will not be shaken. His Royal Highness, this is really a genius idea. Our Research and Development Department will immediately conduct research and development according to the request of His Royal Highness, and strive to produce A-Class cars and C-Class cars in a short period of time. William Maybach excited said. Chapter 103, Free Advertising. Qin Tian has always attached great importance to the automobile industry, because this can not only bring huge profits, but also further promote the development of industrialization and enhance the country's overall strength. Qin Tian clearly remembered that, since the first Ford Model T car was born on September 27, 1908, a total of 15 million Model T cars had been produced. This is undoubtedly an extremely large number. If Daimler can sell so many cars, even surpassing Ford's Model T, this will undoubtedly make Daimler overwhelm other car companies and become a real giant in the automotive field. Then, let's arrange it like this. On January 1st, the B-class car, A-class car and C-class car will be launched first. After they are developed, they will be introduced to the market at an appropriate time. Whether Daimler can become a legend depends on this time. That's right. Especially the C-class car, we must speed up the progress of research and development. It is best to put it on the market in the first half of next year, Qin Tian urged. Qin Tian hoped that Daimler would be able to launch the C-class car before Ford launched the Model T, so that the model car would block Ford. In this case, even if Ford cannot be suppressed in the North American market, at least it can seize the European market. You know, the current European market is much larger than the US market. Only by occupying the European market can we be able to rule the roost in this industry. Yes, Your Highness the Crown Prince. William Maybach nodded heavily, although he didn't know why Qin Tian had such a strict requirement on time. But he knew that Qin Tian always had his reasons for making such a request. Has our truck been developed yet? Qin Tian asked. Although cars are very important, Qin Tian also attaches great importance to. Qin Tian hoped that the German army would become the first army in the world to completely replace mules and horses with cars. Your Highness, the research and development has been completed and a prototype has been produced. Please move on, Your Highness, William Maybach said. Qin Tian followed William Maybach to the place where the truck was parked. I have to admit that the truck developed by Daimler looks very crude. However, it has also possessed most of the characteristics of later generations of trucks. Of course, in terms of performance, it may not be able to compare with the trucks of later generations. This is because there is still a big gap between the current technological conditions and the future generations. Your Highness, this is the truck we designed. It can carry cargo weighing up to 1.5 tons, and its maximum speed can reach 40 km per hour. William Maybach said. Qin Tian nodded, although in Qin Tian's eyes, such a truck is nothing but rubbish. However, in the current situation, such performance is already very good. How's the reliability? Qin Tian asked. Qin intends to promote this truck to the military. If the reliability is not good, the military will definitely not accept it. The military doesn't want these cars transporting supplies to the front line to lose their chains after the outbreak of the war. In that case, it will seriously affect the frontline warfare. Your Highness, we have already conducted a reliability test. Basically, there will be no major problems. However, minor problems will inevitably occur. However, as long as there are accessories and specially trained personnel, it will be easy to solve. No, it has too much impact on the use, William Daimler said. HMM. Qin Tian knew that under the constraints of technical conditions, such problems were inevitable. But at least the problem of having or not has been solved. In another time and space, the reliability of German tanks in World War II was also not good. But the German army still achieved amazing results with such weapons. The reliability of the truck should be improved as much as possible. After all, our main customer will be the army, Qin Tian said. Yes, Your Royal Highness. The Research and Development Department will conduct further research on this issue and strive to further improve reliability, William Maybach said. Is this truck named? Qin Tian asked. Not yet. Then let's name this truck a Maybach truck, Qin Tian said. Yes, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Paul Daimler nodded. William Maybach beside him, his old face, has turned into a chrysanthemum with a smile. As the original founder of Daimler, it is also a very high honor for him to make his name the name of a car. Qin Tian didn't stay long in Stuttgart and left the next afternoon. However, he left with him, as well as 100 Daimler B-class cars produced in advance by Daimler Motor Company. Qin Tian planned to give away these cars. Of course, this is also an advertisement for Daimler. The people Qin Tian wanted to send were all big figures in the empire, including the emperor, important members of the royal family, government prime ministers and other ministers, as well as senior officials of the navy and army, and other important entrepreneurs. Once their cars are replaced by Daimler B-class cars, this is undoubtedly a free advertisement. Once the Daimler B-class car is actually on the market, it will definitely cause hot sales. Father, this is a car produced by my car company. It was specially given to father as a means of transportation. Father can take a test ride. How is a comfort compared to the car produced by the Mercedes-Benz company before? Qin Tian with a smile on his face, he said to William II. King William II looked at the Daimler B-Class car parked in front of him with a look of surprise. Compared with his previous cars, the Daimler B-Class car undoubtedly has a crushing advantage in terms of appearance and performance. Afterwards, William II got into the car and took a circle in the palace. Comfortable seats, excellent shock absorption system and sound insulation facilities make the ride experience in the car is very good. Oscar, a very good car. It's unbelievable that your car company can produce such an excellent car, which is very good. William II naturally praised Qin Tian greatly. Thank you, father, I will work harder. Qin Tian replied. Qin Tian believed that once Wilhelm II and other important imperial ministers replaced their cars with Daimler B-Class cars, this car from Daimler would definitely become popular before it went on sale. Although 100 Daimler B-Class cars are worth as much as 1 million marks, but the advertising effect formed is definitely not something that 1 million marks can achieve. Qin Tian is tantamount to letting these big shots in the empire advertise his products for free. Chapter 104, Crown Prince Salesman. In less than a week, the high-level executives and famous entrepreneurs of the entire empire received gifts from Qin Tian. They were very satisfied with the Daimler Class B car presented by Qin Tian. This is undoubtedly much better than the car they rode in before. At the same time, these people have a great demand for cars, and one car can't satisfy them at all. For example, buying for your family members, or purchase in batches to become a department or company's car. It's just that Daimler's B-Class car is not yet on sale, so they have to wait a little longer. And this also makes, although the Daimler B-Class car has not yet been launched, many people are already looking forward to it. Anyone with a little probably wealth hopes to buy a car like this, and it will save face if they drive it out. Your Highness, the ministers of all ministries are very satisfied with the cars you donated to the government. The government has decided to purchase a batch of official vehicles for the government. In terms of price, please give us more discounts. A meeting before the imperial court ended finally. The Prime Minister of the Empire, Bernhard von Bülow, held Qin Tian back and said to him with a smile. Foreign Minister von Kidron watched all this with a smile. Your Excellency Prime Minister, there is no problem at all. How much does the government need to purchase? I will ask Daimler to give you a 10% discount. In addition, I will give priority to supplying to you. Qin Tian couldn't help being overjoyed. Once the government uses Daimler's B-Class cars as designated vehicles, governments at all levels will compete to imitate them. The government procurement alone is enough to make Daimler work overtime in production. In that case, it would be great. Prime Minister Bernhard von Bülow nodded in satisfaction. January 1st is fast approaching, although Daimler AG is preparing 10,000 Daimler B-Class cars for it. However, what made them unbelievable was that all the 10,000 Daimler B-Class cars were sold out within one day. The central government of the empire alone, the governments of the states, and the governments of the kingdoms eat up half of it. The remaining half was also snatched up by those big businessmen. And many people haven't bought it yet. Orders drifted to Daimler AG like snowflakes, which surprised and delighted the general manager of the company, Paul Daimler. The good news is that these orders mean huge profits. Daimler Motors only needs to desperately expand its production capacity, and there is no need to worry about the cars produced not being sold. What is surprising is that according to the total amount of these orders, Daimler's production may really need to be expanded to 50,000 vehicles per month. After all, the current orders are only from the domestic market. Once it expands to foreign markets, there will be more orders. What's more, this is only a B-Class car. Once the lower priced C-Class car also interviews, the sales will definitely be even hotter. If you don't speed up the expansion of the company's production capacity, there will be no way to deal with it at that time. Paul Daimler immediately accelerated the construction of the new factory building after consulting Qin Tian, and has already begun to actively plan to build a large-scale automobile factory in northern Germany in order to satisfy the northern market. The booming sales have made Paul Daimler no longer have to worry that the cars produced will not be sold. We don't know how long this situation will last. While sales of Daimler's B-Class vehicles are booming, Qin Tian is promoting Daimler's Maybach trucks to the army and navy. Now Qin Tian has completely become a salesman, frantically selling his company's products to the military. Of course, Qin Tian did this not just to make a profit. What's more, it is hoped that with these products, the strength of the military will be further strengthened. In Qin Tian's view, making money is very important. However, to win future wars, that is always the first priority. The current Qin Tian is trying to do everything possible to improve the strength of the army. No matter whether it is hard power or soft power, it must be raised to the highest level before the war breaks out. In that case, Germany will be more likely to win in future wars. Everyone, this is the latest product of Daimler Motor Company. This truck can travel at a speed of 40 km per hour with a load of 1.5 tons. At the same time, it can also tow a cannon. This also means that this car can carry a squad of fully armed soldiers and rush to the battlefield quickly. Although the railway network in Germany is very dense, through convenient railways, we can quickly transport troops and mobilize war materials. However, once we break out of the border and enter the enemy's territory, then everything may be different. Western Europe is okay, and the infrastructure here is relatively good. However, the vast Eastern European plains are worse. The infrastructure construction there is very bad. Once we invade there, the supply and transportation of the troops alone will be a disaster. If our army can equip enough trucks, it will undoubtedly alleviate this problem very well. Qin Tian introduced to these generals with a smile on his face. It's really good to be able to carry a squad of soldiers at a speed of 40 kilometers. Deputy Chief of Staff General Waldsee nodded. Now the logistics transportation of the German army mainly relies on railways when it is in the country. However, once you leave the country, you may have to rely on a horse-drawn carriage. This forced the German army to raise a large number of poor horses. If trucks can be used to replace these mules and horses, it will undoubtedly save a lot of manpower, material and finance resources. His Royal Highness, how reliable is this truck? Xiaomoqi asked. Your Excellency, Chief of the General Staff, the reliability of this heavy-duty truck is relatively high. I can't guarantee that there will be no problems at all, but there will be no major problems. At most, there will be some small problems that can be easily solved. Qin Tian said. If one of our infantry divisions can be equipped with 100 or 200 of these, it can almost meet the truck's consumption of an infantry division. Your Excellency, Chief of Staff, what do you think? General Waldsee asked. It is very good, but the current military expenditure is very tight. It is obviously impossible for Xiaomoqi to nod so easily. His Royal Highness, do you know the price of this truck? General Waldsee asked. The market price will be 8,000 marks. However, I can give the military a discount. You only need to buy it at 6,500 marks each. Qin Tian said with a smile. Chapter 105, Diamond King and 5. After discussions with the generals of the Imperial Army, they finally decided to purchase 20,000 trucks from Daimler. However, the payment needs to be paid in 5 installments. The army's military expenditures are very tight, and if they can buy trucks with more than 100 million marks, it will already make them tighten their belts. Of course, in Qin Tian's view, 20,000 trucks are far from enough. Once war breaks out, Germany needs to mobilize more than 3.5 million troops. The army alone may have more than 3 million people. This also means that the army needs more trucks to transport personnel and supplies. However, Qin Tian also notes that the army is now headed by Little Maoki. Although he and Little Maoki were no longer fighting head to head. However, the relationship between the two parties is still not good. It is obviously impossible for Little Maoki to agree to purchase in large quantities, unless replace Maoki and let another person serve as the chief of staff. However, even if Qin Tian has now become the crown prince of the empire, it is impossible for him to have the power to replace Maoki in a short period of time. Therefore, he could only think of other ways. Qin Tian decided to ask Daimler to produce more trucks as a reserve. Once a war breaks out, it can be delivered to the army immediately, or even in the form of a loan, first handed over to the army for use, and the relevant payments will be paid after the war is over. In this case, the pressure on the army can be further reduced. At the same time, it can also make the army remember his goodness. On the other hand, it is increasing the sale of such trucks to the private sector. In this way, after the outbreak of war, these trucks can be requisitioned in the name of the military, so that the military can have enough trucks to go to the front to support the battle. In addition to the 20,000 vehicles purchased by the army, the navy also purchased 5,000 vehicles. Trucks are much less useful in the navy than in the army. After all, the naval bases are all built by the sea, and they use ships to transport them, which can almost solve most of the problems. Of course, the navy is the most supportive of Qin Tian, and of course it will support Qin Tian's products. It can be said that now the German navy and Qin Tian are completely wearing a pair of trousers. On the way back to Berlin, Marshal Count Tirpitz and Qin Tian took the same car. Qin Tian's car had already been replaced by a Daimler Class B car. Your Highness, although it is our navy, from my personal experience, the army's demand for trucks is obviously greater, and it is simply not enough for 20,000 trucks. Earl Tirpitz the marshal sighed. Qin Tian nodded his head. His expression was a little unsightly. Trucks can be used not only to transport troops, but also to tow artillery and transport logistical supplies. Compared with mules and horses, trucks do not need to be fed, and they hardly need to rest, and their load capacity is larger than that of compared with the overall efficiency. It is naturally far above that of mules and horses. However, this is obviously an extremely useful piece of equipment for improving the combat effectiveness of the army, but because of some people's obstruction, it has encountered a big problem in promoting it in the army. Qin Tian was very angry about this. If possible, he would like to shoot such a guy. But it is a pity that now he is only the crown prince, and he is still the acting crown prince, not the emperor of the empire. He has no right to replace the chief of staff who is highly valued by the emperor. Your excellency, Marshal, there is no way to do it. Father trusts little Marquis too much. Qin Tian shook his head, looking a little helpless. Marshal Earl Tirpitz naturally knew the character of William II very well. Although William II was very talented, he was headstrong and conceited, and could not listen to other people's opinions. Even though he knew that Maoki's ability was problematic, he would not easily replace him. After all, little Maoki is his man. Of course, the reason why Marshal Earl Tirpitz became the head of the navy is also because he is deeply trusted by William II. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to speak his mind in the navy. Your Highness, if I have the opportunity, I will raise this point with your Majesty. With His Majesty's wisdom, I believe he will know what to do. Marshal Count Tirpitz hesitated, then said. Qin Tian shook his head. Let's forget it. This will definitely arouse the disgust of the father. Navy and Qin Tian are very close, which already made William II feel a little dissatisfied. If Marshal Earl Tirpitz accused another minister who was heavily used by William II in front of William II, it would definitely make William II even more disgusted. Qin Tian hoped that Marshal Earl Tirpitz would be in charge of the navy and lead the navy to defeat the Royal Navy. He didn't want to cause extra problems because of this. Marshal Earl Tirpitz nodded and had no choice but to stop talking about this topic. By the way, Your Highness, you will soon come of age. Marshal Earl Tirpitz asked suddenly. Qin Tian was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. Yes. The current Qin Tian is about to turn 20 years old. There is only 1 month left before his 20th birthday, and it has been 5 years since he was reborn into this world. During these 5 years, he tried every means to strengthen Germany's military strength, and took this opportunity to become the acting crown prince of Germany by accident. It can be said that the 5 years of Qin Tian's rebirth were not wasted. Thanks to his efforts, the German Navy has made great progress compared with another time and space. At the same time, the strength of the German army is also improving little by little. Qin Tian believes that once war breaks out in the future, the combat effectiveness of the German army will be even more terrifying. The possibility of winning this world war will also be greater. Although, if Qin Tian's mental age is added together, he is more than 40 years old, and he can be regarded as a middle-aged man. But his current biological age, after all, is less than 20 years old. Compared with his previous life, he is stronger and stronger. But it's a pity that, as the acting crown prince, he is still a virgin, because he is too busy, and he has never even held a girl's hand. It has to be said that among the royal family of the empire, and even among the heirs of various countries, this is definitely the only one. Your Highness, I learned from His Majesty that on your 20th birthday, His Majesty will hold a grand coming of age ceremony for you in the palace. At that time, important ministers and celebrities of the empire will be invited to attend. Especially those younger beautiful ladies of the nobility are probably already looking forward to it. Marshal Earl Tirpitz couldn't help laughing. Qin Tian was speechless for a moment. As he was about to become an adult, it was indeed time for him to find a girlfriend and get married. Moreover, in terms of his identity and status, Wu Yu is the biggest diamond kingpin in Germany and even the whole world, and many girls are staring at him. Chapter 106, Bar Mitzvah. Oscar, you will be an adult tomorrow. You should also consider your marriage. There will be many noble ladies at your coming of age ceremony tomorrow. I hope you can choose one of them and become your partner in life. Queen Victoria said to Qin Tian. She purposely called Qin Tian to the palace the day before his 20th birthday and specifically told him about this matter. Crown Prince William has become a vegetative state, and although Qin Tian is the acting crown prince, but his performance is becoming more and more dazzling, Queen Victoria has to accept this reality. After all, Qin Tian is also her son, but he was not reused before. Moreover, Qin Tian's performance now is even more outstanding than that of Crown Prince William back then. Yes, Queen Mother. Qin Tian nodded. As a member of the royal family, especially the Crown Prince, Qin Tian knew that it was almost impossible for him to decide on his own marriage. His wife could only be the daughter of a great nobleman in Germany, or a princess from another country. As for the common people, it is simply impossible to become his wife, the future Queen of Germany. Of course, Qin Tian never expected to have a vigorous love. Right now, he simply doesn't have that kind of time, nor does he have that kind of experience. Qin Tian, who was a standard nerd in his previous life, had no experience in dating. Qin Tian only hoped that he could find a beautiful and kind-hearted girl to be his wife, and that was enough. Queen Victoria nodded in satisfaction. Oscar, you are the most outstanding prince of the royal family and my best son. I hope that this time you can find a girl you like. Qin Tian nodded and didn't say much, although he also held such expectations. But Qin Tian knew that the royal families in Europe were very chaotic. These aristocrats looked dignified, but behind their backs, they were full of thieves and prostitutes. Whether they could find a wife that satisfied him depended on God's arrangement. The next day, July 2nd, 1908, Qin Tian turned 20 years old. For the German Empire, this day is undoubtedly a very important day. Kaiser Wilhelm II will hold a grand coming-of-age ceremony for Qin Tian in the Imperial Palace. The great nobles in Germany hope that their daughters will be valued by Qin Tian on this day, so that they can become the Crown Princess of Germany and become the Princess of Germany in the future. Queen. In this way, their family can gain huge prestige and benefits. Especially, Qin Tian was already a household name in Germany. This is not only because Qin Tian is the crown prince of the empire, but also because of Qin Tian's achievements in the business field. Deutsche Industries Group has now become one of the few large conglomerates in Germany, and its speed of making money has left others dumbfounded. And Qin Tian is also known as the youngest rich man in Germany. I don't know how many noble women want to marry Qin Tian. If Qin Tian wanted to choose a concubine, the applicants would probably go straight from Berlin to Potsdam. Many foreign envoys were also invited to attend this coming-of-age ceremony. Especially the allies of the German Empire hoped to further consolidate the close relationship with Germany. Emperor Franz Joseph I of the Austro-Hungarian Empire sent a special envoy to Germany to persuade William II to marry the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The princess of the Habsburg dynasty married the heir of the Hohenzollern family, further to cement the alliance between the two empires. However, William II was not going to interfere with Qin Tian on this issue, and handed over the power of choice to Qin Tian. In the words of William II, the current German Empire is already very strong, so strong that we need allies, and there is no need to sacrifice the happiness of the crown prince. Qin Tian was very satisfied that he was not persecuted by William II and Queen Victoria in this regard. Although he cannot decide the identity of his wife, he can always decide who his wife is. He wants to choose a wife who satisfies him, rather than using his marriage as a political bargaining chip. The coming of age ceremony has a lot of cumbersome rituals. The Archbishop of the Catholic German diocese presided over this coming of age ceremony in person, making the whole coming of age ceremony even more sacred. Qin Tian endured his temper, and finally made it to the end of the ceremony, which made him heave a sigh of relief. Gentlemen and ladies, elites of the German Empire, thank you for being able to attend the coming of age ceremony of Crown Prince Oscar. At the end of the ceremony, William II made a routine speech. Although, William II still has a preference for Crown Prince William in his heart. However, he had to admit that when Crown Prince William could no longer fulfill his duties as Crown Prince, Qin Tian was undoubtedly the best candidate for Crown Prince. What's more, Qin Tian's performance in this position should have been better than that of Crown Prince William. William II often thought that perhaps it would be the best choice for Qin Tian to inherit the throne. The German Empire has become one of the most powerful empires in the world, and it will continue to grow stronger. Thank God for giving us the Crown Prince Oscar, and giving us the bestest to the Crown Prince in the world. May God bless Crown Prince Oscar, bless the German Empire. William II said loudly. May God bless Crown Prince Oscar and the German Empire. Everyone shouted. However, not everyone who participated in the coming of age ceremony wished Qin Tian sincerely. For example, the hostile countries of the German Empire, Britain, France, Russia and other countries, they do not want the German Empire to continue to grow stronger. A powerful German Empire is not a good thing for them. It would have been nice if the heir to the German Empire had been an incompetent. But it is a pity that Crown Prince William, who was previously ambitious and talented, became a vegetable, and the current Crown Prince is even more difficult to deal with. Besides these people, Qin Tian's brothers were also completely filled with jealousy and hatred. According to the law of succession to the throne, when Crown Prince William was unable to perform the duties of Crown Prince, they should be appointed as Crown Prince, and it would never be Qin Tian's turn. However, William II violated the law of succession to the throne and directly deprived them of their qualifications to be crown princes according to the law, which naturally made them very hateful. You know, their coming of age ceremony is far inferior to Qin Tian's coming of age ceremony this time. This made these princes extremely jealous. Chapter 107, British Warning. Damn, why should he be on top and accept the blessings of everyone? If I were the crown prince of the empire, then I should be the one who attracts the most attention. Prince Ethel Friedrich roared in his heart. His two hands have been clenched tightly into fists, and the nails have sunk deeply into the flesh. Prince Albert and Prince August William also looked unhappy. Although, after Crown Prince William became a vegetable, according to the law of succession to the throne, it was not their turn to inherit the position of Crown Prince. However, it was also unacceptable for them to see their least valued younger brother suddenly surpassing them and becoming the Crown Prince of the Empire. In their view, why could Qin Tian violate the law of succession to the throne and become the Crown Prince? Why couldn't they? Even though William II had already warned them about this matter. However, the jealousy and ambition in their hearts are not so easy to suppress. Once a flame of ambition is ignited, if it wants to be extinguished, it must be completely wiped out. However, Qin Tian now is different from before. After the assassination, Qin Tian already regarded the throne as his own. No matter how long it takes for the throne to succeed. But if anyone else wanted to take the throne from him, it would be courting death. This time, he will not back down. After the coming of age ceremony, it's the banquet. Young noblemen and ladies, you can take this opportunity to get to know each other better. Of course, I don't know how many noble women will hide their husbands and hook up with other men at banquets. The life among the nobles was originally relatively peaceful. This is why Qin Tian doesn't like these nobles. Qin Tian became the well-deserved protagonist at the banquet. Many people's eyes were focused on him. Many gazes are fiery. Especially those young and beautiful noble ladies. They can't wait to drag Qin Tian away right now. In that case, they might be able to become queens of the German Empire in the future. His Royal Highness, congratulations. Can I invite you to dance? A slender fair-skinned young noble lady boldly extended the invitation. Her low-cut dress revealed a large area of white flowers on her chest, and the deep groove made people want to bury their eyeballs in it. I'm sorry, miss, I don't want to dance now. You can find someone else. Qin Tian shook his head. Although this woman is very beautiful and has a good figure, but Qin Tian doesn't want to find a bus. Although he was reborn as a German, his thinking was still that of an Oriental, and he hoped that his wife would be a pure girl. The smile on Miss Noble's face stiffened suddenly. Maybe she didn't even think that her invitation would be rejected. Other aristocratic ladies who were eager to try saw this situation, and they also retreated in their hearts. Qin Tian walked around the banquet hall and found that most of the noble ladies, although they were good looking, were all heavily made up and very mature, not his type. Although people kept inviting him to dance, Qin refused Tian them all, and this also made many people who followed him very puzzled. Honey, doesn't Oscar look down on these noble ladies? This is the best noble lady in the whole of Germany. Queen Victoria was a little worried. It seems that Oscar has a high vision. But let him go. If Germany can't find a wife candidate that satisfies him, he will look for it in other countries. I believe that as the Crown Prince of the German Empire, he is worthy of it. Any unmarried noble lady in this world, William II said. Queen Victoria nodded. She naturally trusted Qin Tian very much. She believed that Qin Tian was the best with his identity, status and talent. His Royal Highness, Your Excellency Marshal, do you mind if I join your topic? Qin Tian had no choice but to see Earl Tirpitz and Marshal Count Tirpitz chatting with Prince Heinrich, so he wanted to join in. Otherwise, this banquet would be too boring for him. As the protagonist of the banquet, it is obviously impossible to leave early. Oh, no, Your Royal Highness, this banquet is specially held for you. You should seize this opportunity and have a good exchange with those noble ladies. Don't waste this good opportunity, Prince Heinrich said with a smile. Yes, Your Royal Highness, there are so many young and beautiful girls. If I were 20 years younger, I would be very excited. So, Your Royal Highness, it would be a shame to waste time on us old men. Not a wise choice. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said with an exaggerated expression. Okay. Qin Tian couldn't help being even more speechless, so he had no choice but to join their conversation and find other ways to relieve boredom. At this moment, a middle-aged man in a black suit with a full smile on his face came to Qin Tian with a glass of wine. His Royal Highness, congratulations, the middle-aged man said. Qin Tian knew this person. He was Vincent, the British ambassador to Germany, a guy who claimed to be the world hegemon with the British Empire. Ambassador, thank you for coming to my coming-of-age ceremony. Qin Tian smiled humbly. His Royal Highness, as the heir to the throne of a world power, you must have your own views on the current world situation. The British Empire hopes that His Royal Highness can contribute to world peace. Otherwise, once war breaks out, it is unbearable for anyone, said Ambassador Vincent. Qin Tian couldn't help but frowned. What does the British mean? Is it a warning to him? Or do you hope to influence Germany's foreign policy through him? If it is the former, then the British are too arrogant. This is Germany. Even if the British Empire is still the hegemon of the world, their hegemony has long since faded away. What qualifications do you have to warn the German Empire, which is now in full swing? If it is the latter, it is simply delusional. The conflict between Britain and Germany is becoming more and more acute, and future wars are inevitable. Anyone who tries to stop this historical trend will be crushed to pieces. Even if Qin Tian was the crown prince of the German Empire, he didn't want to avoid the outbreak of war. What he wants is to help win the war, pull the British Empire from the throne of world hegemony, and replace it. Chapter 108, Love at First Sight. Your Excellency, I think you have made a mistake. The German Empire is a peace-loving country. We don't want to start a war, or invade other people. If a war is bound to break out, then we must have no choice but to fight back. Qin Tian, start talking nonsense with your eyes open. As a political figure, especially a big man like the Crown Prince of the Empire, telling lies with open eyes is also a must-have ability. Otherwise, how to deal with those old foxes? Ambassador Vincent was speechless. Is Germany a peace-loving country? Then what are they building so many warships like crazy? Their unity is entirely based on defeating a series of opponents. Otherwise, how could they complete the unification? His Royal Highness, I'm serious. I'm not joking. The British Empire does not want to be an enemy of the German Empire. However, if the German Empire continues to provoke the British Empire, this will cause very serious consequences. This consequence, even the German Empire, the empire cannot afford it. As a great empire that has dominated the world for hundreds of years, the British Empire has the strength to deal with any challenge. Ambassador Vincent said in a deep voice, "Your Excellency, the German Empire did not provoke the British Empire. On the contrary, it is Your Excellency who is aggressively provoking the German Empire. The British Empire is very powerful, and I completely agree with that. However, the German Empire is definitely not to be bullied by others. Qin Tian attitude has also become tougher. Today's Germany, even in the face of the powerful British Empire, has the confidence and qualifications to say nothing. His Royal Highness, the German Empire's crazy development of armaments and continuous construction of warships, isn't that a provocation to the British Empire?" Ambassador Vincent didn't seem to back down at all, and responded **********. As a diplomat of the British Empire, he has the British Empire as a support, and has always been arrogant, thinking that other countries have already promoted at the feet of the British Empire. HMPH. As a sovereign country, doesn't the German Empire even have the right to develop its own armaments? We build warships not to provoke others, but to defend the interests of the empire. Qin Tian replied. Obviously, the conversation between Qin Tian and Ambassador Vincent was not at all harmonious and full of gunpowder. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, they might have already started arguing. But even so, many people still noticed them. "Well, Your Royal Highness, since the German Empire wants to go its own way, then, I hope you will not regret it. The British Empire has the ability to step on all its competitors." Ambassador Vincent said with a serious look on his face. Angry, after dropping these words, he left the banquet hall straight away. HMPH. Proud and arrogant British people, one day, we will pull you down from the throne of the overlord and trample on the soles of your feet. Qin Tian looked indifferent. Qin Tian also didn't like the proud and arrogant British people at all. These guys always feel too good about themselves, thinking that the whole world should be under their rule. "What's the matter, Your Royal Highness?" Marshal Earl Tirpitz and Prince Heinrich, who were closest to Qin Tian, came over. "It's okay, the arrogant British warned us not to provoke them anymore. They also claimed that the British Empire has the ability to defeat all opponents." Qin Tian said with a smile. "Damn the British, they are still so arrogant. Soon, they will know that the world is no longer in their hands." Prince Heinrich said. Now he is still the commander of the High Seas Fleet, so he naturally knows how terrifying the warships under construction in German shipyards are. Germany is already making final preparations to challenge the British Empire's maritime hegemony. Once the war breaks out, it will definitely surprise the British. Even, they have a great chance to pull the British from the throne of maritime supremacy. Your Highness, there is absolutely no need to take what the British say to heart. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said. Qin Tian nodded. "I know, it's just that the British are unwilling to give up their hegemony, and they are making their last struggle." Haha, Your Highness is right. The British are making their last struggle. Soon, we will crush them. Marshal Count Tirpitz and Prince Heinrich couldn't help laughing. The scene of Qin Tian talking and laughing with Count Tirpitz and Prince Heinrich attracted many people's eyes. The relationship between Qin Tian and the Navy is very close, which is well known in Germany. The support of the military is also a favorable guarantee for the consolidation of Qin Tian's crown prince status. Of course, this also made the other princes who did not get the support of the military very dissatisfied. Damn. Oscar, why is his relationship with the Navy so good? It's almost good enough to wear a pair of pants. If I can have the support of the military, my father will definitely let me be the crown prince. Ethel Fowler Prince Friedrich thought unwillingly. He simply believed that the reason why Qin Tian would squeeze him out and became the crown prince of the German Empire was because of the support of the military. At the same time, Prince Adalbert and Prince August William couldn't help but have other thoughts in their hearts. If they can get the support of the military, does this also mean that they can squeeze Qin Tian from the position of crown prince? Regardless of whether this method is useful or not, they have already decided that they must strengthen their ties with the military next. Qin Tian held the wine glass and wandered aimlessly in the banquet hall. Suddenly, his gaze fell to the corner of the banquet hall. There were two girls in white dresses, talking in a low voice. One of the girls was younger. However, the appearance is very beautiful. Especially the pure taste. It feels like an elf left in the world. Qin Tian was immediately attracted and then walked towards the two girls involuntarily. He had a feeling that was the man for the wife he wanted. Qin Tian was originally the protagonist of this dinner party, and his every move has attracted people's attention. Many people's eyes were on him. This is especially true for those aristocratic women attending the banquet. When they saw Qin Tian walking towards the corner of the banquet hall, and there were two young women in the banquet hall, they couldn't help breathing quickly. What's going on? Why did His Highness the Crown Prince walk towards those two young women? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, Crown Prince's Choice. Who are those two girls? Why did His Highness the Crown Prince take a fancy to them? That seems to be the daughter of His Majesty King Ludwig III of Bavaria, Princess Helmchild and Princess Gundlind. I don't know which princess the Crown Prince is looking for. It turns out that they are the princesses of the Kingdom of Bavaria, and they are probably the only ones worthy of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Even so, the eyes of many noble women looking at Princess Helmchild and Princess Gundlind are still full of jealousy. How much they wished that Qin Tian had his eyes on them. Indeed, among the noble ladies present, Princesses Helmchild and Princess Gundlind are considered to be of relatively high status. The Bavarian royal family was originally one of the oldest royal families in the German Empire. You know, the German royal family, the Hohenzollern family, was nothing more than the royal family of the Kingdom of Prussia before the unification of Germany time. The Kingdom of Bavaria was a powerful state second only to the Kingdom of Prussia. In the German Unification War, the Kingdom of Bavaria was the main force against the Kingdom of Prussia among the southern German states. Even though it was defeated and became part of the German Empire, the Bavarian royal family still ruled the Kingdom of Bavaria. In the German Empire, it had great power and a very high status. Qin Tian didn't hear these discussions at all. He only had eyes on that beautiful elf-like woman, and he told himself in his heart that that was the wife he was looking for. Princess Helmchild and Princess Gundlind, who were eating, also felt that something was wrong with the atmosphere. Princess Helmchild raised her head, just in time to see Qin Tian walking towards them step by step. Why does His Highness the Crown Prince come like us? Could it be that His Highness the Crown Prince has taken a fancy to me? Princess Helmchild suddenly had a feeling of being favored by God. After all, she is very confident in her appearance. However, she is 2 years older than Qin Tian. So when she came to attend Qin Tian's coming of age ceremony, she didn't think Qin Tian would take a fancy to her. But now, she thought a miracle was about to happen. As long as they are in love, age is not a problem at all. What's more, she is only 2 years older than Qin Tian. Gundlind, don't eat. The Crown Prince is here. Don't give him a bad impression. Princess Helmchild pulled her sister beside her, and at the same time, put on the most ladylike appearance. Waiting Qin Tian came over to say hello to her, asked her name, and then started a perfect relationship, and finally married Qin Tian, becoming one of the most honorable women in all of Germany. Thinking of this, Princess Helmchild became very excited, which was completely beyond his expectation, as if a pie fell from the sky suddenly, and even hit her on the head. Princess Gundlind realized what had happened, and hurriedly put down the food in her hand. A trace of panic flashed across her face, like a frightened deer. Qin Tian came in front of the two princesses. "Hello, Your Royal Highness." Princess Helmchild called out sweetly, and saluted Qin Tian at the same time. Princess Gundlind also greeted timidly. "Hello, beautiful young lady, can I know your name?" Qin Tian looked at Princess Gundlind and asked. "My name is..." Princess Helmchild couldn't wait to answer, but then she found that Qin Tian's gaze was completely on her sister, which immediately caused Princess Helmchild to fall from heaven to hell. What's going on here? Is God joking with me? Why is it not me that His Royal Highness is looking at, but the little girl Gundlind? Princess Helmchild looked very embarrassed. There was even a trace of jealousy in the eyes of his sister. although she had to admit that Princess Gundlin's appearance was completely above hers. However, the current Princess Gundlind is relatively young, and she is completely a budding flower. Unlike her, she is already a mature woman. Princess Gundlind was also taken aback, as if she didn't expect Qin Tian to pay attention to her. She glanced at her sister, and then replied in a low voice, "Your Highness, my name is Gundlind." Gundlind, the little princess of His Majesty King Ludwig III of the Kingdom of Bavaria. Qin Tian had read the information of these noble ladies who participated in the coming-of-age ceremony before, and immediately took his seat. "Yes." Princess Gundlind nodded. "Your Royal Highness, can I invite you to dance?" Qin Tian leaned over, making an invitation gesture. Princess Gundlind hesitated for a moment, then put her hand on Qin Tian's, and agreed to his invitation. Beautiful music sounded, and Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind danced lightly. Both of them were born in the royal family, and among the court etiquette they learned, there was naturally a lesson in dancing. Therefore, although the cooperation between the two is a bit unfamiliar, the dance is very beautiful. However, those noble ladies looked at Princess Gundlind with jealousy. If eyes could kill, the beautiful little Princess Gundlind must have been burned to ashes. God, why does His Highness the Crown Prince take a fancy to that little girl's film? Does His Highness the Crown Prince like younger ones? Don't talk nonsense. His Highness the Crown Prince is only 20 years old, only 3 years older than Princess Gundlind, and their ages are exactly the same. HMPH. I'm obviously more beautiful than Gundlind, but why didn't His Royal Highness choose me? There is no doubt that Qin Tian invited Gundlind to dance, and he has undoubtedly expressed his heart. This also sent out an obvious signal to everyone, that is, Princess Gundlind has become his goal. Such a result, naturally some people are happy and some are worried. Countless noble ladies were discouraged because of this. They thought they had lost a chance to fly on the branches and become a phoenix. It seems that His Highness the Crown Prince has found his target, which is a happy thing. Count Tirpitz said with satisfaction. The combination of the Prussian royal family and the Bavarian royal family will make the German Empire more united. Prince Heinrich also said, as the two most powerful states in the German Empire, if the Kingdom of Prussia and the Kingdom of Bavaria can marry, it will be very beneficial to stabilize the interior of the German Empire and unite the power of the entire empire. After all, the Prussian Empire has always represented the north of the German Empire, and the Kingdom of Bavaria has always represented the south of the German Empire. Chapter 110. Feeling in Love. In another corner of the banquet hall, the Emperor Ruprecht of the Kingdom of Bavaria was talking to his younger brother, Prince Karl. The Kingdom of Bavaria is an important state of the German Empire, and these Bavarian princes also have a high status in the RUPPRECHT*****. Himself served in the German Imperial Army, and he already had the rank of general. In addition to his outstanding personal ability, he has always been hailed as the best military commander among the members of the royal family. Big brother, second brother, something big has happened. Prince Franz, the third son of King Ludwig III of Bavaria, walked over with a look of excitement. What's the matter, Franz? This is a coming-of-age banquet of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. What big event can happen? Prince Karol was a little dissatisfied with his younger brother's recklessness. His Royal Highness has invited Gundlind to dance. Prince Franz said. What? Mrs. Ruprecht and Prince Karol were taken aback for a moment, and they obviously didn't expect such a thing to happen. Qin Tian, with his eyes above his head, actually fell in love with their youngest sister. Brother, this is a great thing. If Gundlind can be handed over to Crown Prince Oscar, the status of the Bavarian royal family in the German Empire will be further improved. Prince Karol also said excitedly. Obviously, if Qin Tian can really get together with Princess Gundlind, they will undoubtedly be happy to see it happen. Ruprecht nodded, and he didn't object to it in his heart. In his opinion, Qin Tian was undoubtedly the most outstanding young man in Germany, with a noble status, outstanding ability, and wealth that even the royal family of Bavaria could not compare to. Coupled with Qin Tian's huge influence in the Imperial Navy and Army, even though he is still the acting crown prince, his succession to the throne in the future is almost a certainty. You guys are staring here. I'm going to find my father. Ruprecht *** said. Ruprecht immediately went to King Ludwig III. Now King Ludwig III is in his 60s, old and not very energetic. Not long after the banquet started, he went to the lounge to rest. Father, Crown Prince Oscar invited Gundlind to dance together. Among so many noble ladies, he invited Gundlind. Does this mean that Crown Prince Oscar has taken a fancy to Gundlind? Ruprecht was very excited. King Ludwig III was also stunned by this sudden news. Although, the Bavarian royal family has a respected status and has great influence in the southern part of the German Empire. But it is precisely because of this that the imperial family has always been very wary of them, for fear that they will rebel. After the ambitious William II succeeded to the throne, they began to suppress the royal families in the German Empire so that they could be more powerful, further integrate the German Empire and launch wars abroad. Therefore, the life of the Bavarian royal family is not easy. If the Bavarian royal family can marry the Hohenzollern family, this will undoubtedly bring the relationship between the two royal families closer. At the same time, it will also allow the Bavarian royal family to gain the trust of William II to survive this crisis. However, even though there are many benefits, Ludwig III does not want to sacrifice the happiness of his daughter, especially Princess Gundlind, who is his most beloved youngest daughter. Ruprecht. It depends on Gundlind herself. If she likes Crown Prince Oscar, then let them be together. If Gundlind doesn't like it, we can't force it. Do not put any pressure on them, said King Ludwig III. This shows how much he loves his little daughter. Yes, father. Ruprecht nodded. However, he still believes that this is a good opportunity that the Bavarian royal family cannot miss. At the same time, he also believed that Qin Tian was undoubtedly the best match for Princess Gundlind. Miss Ruprecht made up her mind that when she returned, she must hint to Princess Gundlind that she would not let this opportunity go. Qin Tian invited Princess Gundlind to dance, causing an uproar during the entire banquet. The eyes of countless people are focused on them. Of course, many people have jealousy in their eyes. For the noble ladies who put so much effort into dressing up and participating in this coming of age ceremony, their goal is all on Qin Tian. But Qin Tian didn't even look at them and was directly captured by Princess Gundlind. This undoubtedly made them very angry. Of course, the beautiful Princess Gundlind naturally attracted the attention of many men. It's just that Qin Tian snatched this flower that hadn't bloomed yet, which naturally made them a little bit unwilling. But even if you are not reconciled, what else can you do? They don't have the guts, and they don't have the qualifications to compete with Qin Tian for a woman. After all, they are far from being able to compare with Qin Tian in terms of status, wealth and talent. Although, Qin Tian has no experience in dating girlfriends since his previous life. But, have you never eaten pork? Haven't you seen a pig run? Especially his identity and status in this life, as well as a series of achievements, made him very confident. While Qin Tian was dancing with Princess Gundlind, Qin Tian was also talking to her in a low voice. Although Princess Gundlind seemed a bit shy, Qin Tian had already set out Princess Gundlind's preferences before the dance music was finished. This will be very helpful for him to launch the next offensive. That's right, Qin Tian has identified this beautiful and pure girl and wants to make her his wife. My dear, it seems that Oscar has a good eye. Princess Gundlind is a very nice girl. If she can get together with Oscar, I have no objection. Princess Victoria looked at Qin Tian in the middle of the dance floor speak to Princess Gundlind. William II nodded, but didn't say much. He may be thinking about whether the marriage between the Hohenzollern family and the Bavarian royal family is a good thing or a bad thing for the empire, or whether it is good for further consolidating the Hohenzollern family's rule in the empire. Of course, William II will not interfere with Qin Tian's choice. This son is really outstanding. He didn't want to affect the relationship between their father and son because of this matter. In that case, the gain would not be worth the loss. After the song ended, Qin Tian said to Princess Gundlind, "Your Royal Highness, may I have the honor to invite you to visit the garden of the palace together? There are many flowers in bloom in the garden, very beautiful." Chapter 111. Take the initiative to attack. Qin Tian left the banquet hall together with Princess Gundlind and went to visit the garden of the palace. This made the other people in the banquet hall dumbfounded. Some people who originally had a glimmer of hope in their hearts now feel the feeling of shattered hope. Obviously, the relationship between Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind is gradually getting closer. Many people also have a feeling that the two are completely talented and beautiful, a match made in heaven. Even if the protagonist is gone, the banquet must continue. This banquet will provide a very good platform for those noble men and women who are empty and lonely, trying to hook up. Especially once you drink a lot of wine, everyone will be more open, and some jaw-dropping farces will often break out. And all of this has nothing to do with Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind. The two are visiting the garden. Qin Tian seemed to become very talkative all of a sudden, with witty remarks, making Princess Gundlind's teasing trembling, and covering his face with a coquettish smile. Princess Gundlind also admires Qin Tian very much. In the past few years, Qin Tian's actions have become a legend in the entire German Empire. Naturally, many women regard Qin Tian as their ideal object. Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind can be said to be lovers and concubines, which naturally brings the relationship between the two of them closer. After visiting the garden of the palace, both of them had clearly felt the meaning of the other. Your Highness, how long can you stay in Berlin this time? There are many scenic spots around Berlin. If possible, I would like to be your guide and take you to visit these scenic spots. Qin Tian said. I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness, I miss my mother very much. We will leave for Munich tomorrow. However, I invite His Royal Highness to visit Munich at an appropriate time. Princess Gundlind said. A trace of regret flashed across Qin Tian's face, but since Princess Gundlind invited him to Munich, of course he would not miss this opportunity. Okay, Your Highness, I will definitely go to Munich. Qin Tian made up his mind. On the second day, the news that Qin Tian fell in love with the little Princess Gundlind of the Kingdom of Bavaria spread throughout the entire German Empire. The public didn't have any opinion on this. In their opinion, a handsome prince and a beautiful princess should live together. As for those elites, they can't help but sigh that once the marriage between the Hohenzollern family and the Bavarian royal family is completed, the situation in the German Empire will be more stable. It is impossible. King William II also attached great importance to this, and specially summoned Qin Tian. Oscar, do you have a crush on Princess Gundlind? William II asked straight to the point. Yes, father, I like Princess Gundlind, and want her to be my wife. Qin Tian also replied firmly. He was originally a person who would not easily make changes once he was determined. What's more, Princess Gundlind was originally his favorite type. For a person, it is not so easy to meet someone he likes in his life. King William II couldn't help frowning. He understood Qin Tian's intentions from Qin Tian's answer, but this also meant that some of his policies might have to be changed. Oscar, you should be clear that over the years, I have been thinking of ways to suppress the royal families in the country, compress their power, and consolidate the Hohenzollern family's ruling power in the German Empire. The Bavarian royal family can be called the most influential in southern Germany. They are also the targets of my suppression. If you marry Princess Gundlind, I'm afraid I will have to change my policy. William II said. Qin Tian nodded. He naturally knew that William II had been worried that the royal families of those states in the country would pose a threat to the rule of the Hohenzollern family, and had always been strengthening the centralization of power. However, he didn't think it had anything to do with his marriage to Princess Gundlind. Father, strengthening the centralization of power will be a long-term process. If the means are too drastic, it will cause them to counterattack. I think we should adopt a gentle policy and influence them subtly means to eliminate their threat to the Hohenzollern family. Of course, when necessary, strong means can also be used to deter other people. Even if I marry Princess Gundlind, it will not have any impact on this. Qin Tian said. A lot of times, politics is politics, and not to be confused with anything else. King William II thought for a while, then nodded. Although, he thought it would be very difficult for Qin Tian to do everything he said. But since Qin Tian had already said that, he naturally couldn't say anything more. He believed that with Qin Tian's intelligence, he would handle all of this well. Okay, Oscar, I believe in you. Now that you have made a decision, then do it according to your ideas. I believe that you will handle all this well. William II expressed his support for Qin Tian. "Yes, royal father." Qin Tian nodded, and at the same time, breathed a sigh of relief. Being able to pass through William II made him feel relieved a lot. Originally, what he was most worried about was that William II would clearly oppose it. After all, there are many contradictions between the Hohenzollern family and the Bavarian royal family. After leaving the palace, Qin Tian went directly to the headquarters of the Deutsche Industries Group. If he goes to Munich this time, he doesn't know how long he will stay. However, the various enterprises under the industrial group cannot be affected by this. He had to tell Carol to follow up on these projects. His Royal Highness, congratulations. Karl von Jonnerlet smiled. Of course, he was very clear about what happened at the banquet last night. Haha, Karl, it's too early to congratulate me now. Let's talk about it when we get married, Qin Tian said with a smile. Karl von Jonnerlet nodded. He knew that Qin Tian was serious. Karl, I'm going to Munich tomorrow. Keep an eye on the affairs of the group, especially the shipyard, engine factory, and munitions company. Don't relax. Make sure that all projects are progressing in an orderly manner, Qin Tian ordered. Okay, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, Karl von Jonnerlet replied. He knew that Qin Tian's mind was no longer on the company, and he would be very busy in the next period of time. Chapter 112, Confession. On July 4, 1908, Qin Tian left Berlin and took a special train to Munich. He had no one with him but the guards. Now that Qin Tian is going out, the guards must strengthen their defenses. Neither Qin Tian nor William II hoped for another assassination incident. In addition, on the special train, there are gifts from Qin Tian to Princess Gundlind and members of the Bavarian royal family. Because there are too many members of the Bavarian royal family, so many gifts are brought. There are 13 children of King Ludwig III of Bavaria. Of course, the 4th son, the 5th daughter and the 8th daughter died and did not grow up. The 3rd daughter also died at the age of 22. But even so, among the remaining children, there are still 3 sons and 6 daughters, which is already amazing among the royal families in Europe. After all, monogamy is practiced in European countries. Even the emperor and the king secretly had many mistresses and many illegitimate children. However, those illegitimate children will not have titles, nor will they be recognized. Therefore, Ludwig III is definitely the king with more children on the surface. The gift that Qin Tian gave to members of the Bavarian royal family was Daimler's Daimler B-Class sedan. When Daimler's A-Class sedan was not on the market, the B-Class sedan had become the most luxurious car on the market. Of course, the Daimler C-Class sedan is a sedan for the general public. Many working class people can afford it, and it has become the main sedan produced by Daimler. On the morning of July 6th, Qin Tian arrived in Munich. The Bavarian royal family got the news and asked RUPRECHT*** to go to Munich railway station to welcome Qin Tian's arrival. His Royal Highness, welcome to Munich. It is an honor for the entire kingdom of Bavaria. Ruprecht's face was full of smiles. They only returned to Munich yesterday, and Qin Tian came after him the next day. Doesn't this show that Qin Tian loves his sister very much? Chase so closely. RUPRECHT*** sincerely hopes that Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind can get married. Once the Hohenzollern family and the Bavarian royal family successfully marry, this will make the Bavarian royal family soar and become the second largest in the entire German Empire. For the great royal family of the Hohenzollern family, even if it cannot be restored to the independent period of the Kingdom of Bavaria, at least it will be much better than the current situation. Your Highness, you are very polite. I came to Munich at the invitation of Princess Gundlind. I have also admired the city of Munich for a long time. Facing his future brother-in-law, Qin Tian didn't show any arrogance, nor did he have the airs of a crown prince. And this also made Mrs. Ruprecht very satisfied. After all, besides being the commander of the Kingdom of Bavaria, he is also an army general of the German Empire. Even if his identity and status are not as good as Qin Tian's, they are not far behind. Afterwards, Qin Tian and Ruprecht *** up and drove to the Munich palace. The car they were riding in was a Daimler B-Class car of Daimler AG. Although the sales of Daimler's B-class cars are booming, many people can't grab one with money. But with the ability of the Bavarian royal family, it is natural to be able to get the car before ordinary people. On the way, Mrs. Ruprecht was full of praise for Daimler's B-class car. He knew that Daimler had become a company under Qin Tian's Deutsche Industries group, and this was also a disguised form, flattering Qin Tian. At the same time, in the Munich palace, Ludwig III was also talking about this matter with his sons and daughters. Father, the eldest brother has received His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, and will soon come to the palace. The second Prince Carol was very excited. Well, Gundlind, my little son, it seems that you are very charming. You actually let the most outstanding Crown Prince of the German Empire chase you all the way from Berlin to Munich. Ludwig III laughed. Father, Princess Gundlind blushed from embarrassment, but there was a hint of sweetness in her heart. With Qin Tian's identity, being able to do this to a girl is undoubtedly commendable. The other unmarried daughters of Ludwig III also looked at Princess Gundlind with a hint of envy or even jealousy. After all, a man like Qin Tian who has status, talent, and incomparable wealth is definitely the target of every woman's desire to marry. Soon, Qin Tian arrived at the palace, called on Ludwig III, and gave his gifts to the members of the Bavarian royal family. One Daimler Class B car per person. Although, for these wealthy royal family members, Daimler B-class cars are not expensive, but the key is that, even if you have money, you may not be able to buy them. There are many people who haven't bought it yet. Qin Tian gave these presents now, making them very happy. That night, Ludwig III hosted a banquet to welcome Qin Tian at the Munich palace. Important figures from the entire Bavarian royal palace attended the banquet. Of course, at the banquet, Qin Tian could clearly feel that many young people were very hostile to him. Qin Tian didn't take it seriously. With the beauty of Princess Gundlind, he is not surprised that there will be many suitors in the kingdom of Bavaria. However, for him, those guys were no threat at all. They could only watch him pick off the delicate flower Princess Gundlind point. In the next few days, Princess Gundlind became a guide and took Qin Tian to visit the scenic spots in and around Munich. Famous scenic spots such as Marienplatz, Nymphenburg Palace, the Salon, Deutsches Museum, etc. their footprints. At the same time, in the past few days, the relationship between Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind has also been heating up. At dusk when the sun was setting, Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind held hands, lying on the lawn, talking about love. Suddenly, Qin Tian turned around, stared at Princess Gundlind's beautiful face, and said, Gundlind, I like you. I hope you can become my wife, and grow old with me. I swear to God, I will love you forever. Princess Gundlind was suddenly stunned, as if she never thought that Qin Tian would confess to her at this time. After a few days of contact, she has discovered that Qin Tian is a person who greets on the outside, but is proud in his bones. However, Princess Gundlind was very happy with Qin Tian's confession. Isn't this what she expected? Oscar, I like you too. I'm willing to be your wife and grow old with you. Princess Gundlind replied. Qin Tian couldn't bear it anymore. He hugged Princess Gundlind, kissed her red lips, and the two hearts moved closer together. Chapter 113, got engaged. That night, when members of the Bavarian royal family were having dinner, Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind appeared in front of everyone holding hands. Everyone was taken aback. Although, the relationship between Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind has been increasing day by day these days, they have already tacitly agreed that the two of them are together. However, in front of everyone, Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind still didn't appear very close. Now, obviously, everything is different. Ludwig III, watching this scene, nodded in satisfaction. In his heart, he was undoubtedly very satisfied with finding a good home for his little daughter. The princes also had smiles all over their faces. The Crown Prince of the German Empire can become their brother-in-law, which undoubtedly makes them very face-saving. Most importantly, the Bavarian royal family will gain more benefits as a result. A few princesses, perhaps out of female thinking, are somewhat unwilling. During Qin Tian's visit to the Bavarian royal family, it was not that none of them wanted to asterisk Qin Tian from Princess Gundlind, and they took action, but they failed to succeed. Although there is no cat in the world that doesn't steal, Qin Tian's current energy is all on Princess Gundland. How could he care about them? Your Majesty, I have formally proposed to Princess Gundland, and Princess Gundland has also agreed. Please agree to us. Qin Tian said to Ludwig III. What? Marriage proposal? At this moment, the members of the Bavarian royal family were once again dumbfounded. They did not expect that Qin Tian and Princess Gundland's progress would be so fast. Even Ludwig III was a little dazed. It's only been a few days. The two little guys have already reached the stage of discussing marriage. Gundland, is what His Royal Highness the Crown Prince said true? Ludwig III looked at his little daughter. Although he already knew the answer in his heart, he still wanted to confirm it. Yes, father, I'm willing to be with Oscar and be her wife. Princess Gundland seemed to have the courage at once and raised her head to answer Ludwig III. Well, since both of you agree, then I have no objection to this. However, Your Royal Highness, don't you ask His Majesty the Emperor's opinion first? Ludwig III asked. Your Majesty, I will rush back to Berlin tomorrow to consult my father's opinion. However, I believe my father will agree. Qin Tian said confidently. Ludwig III nodded and said no more. Since Qin Tian is so confident, he is naturally willing to marry the Bavarian royal family with the royal family. After all, this will not only make Princess Gundland happy, but it will also be of great benefit to the Bavarian royal family. Other members of the Bavarian royal family also wished Qin Tian and Princess Gundland one after another. They are also very happy to be able to marry the royal family. His Royal Highness, Gundland will only be 18 years old next year. In my opinion, if His Majesty the Emperor does not object, you can get engaged first this year and get married next year. What do you think? Ludwig III asked Rode. Your Majesty, I have no objection to this. After returning to Berlin, I will formally report this matter to my father. I believe that my father will not object. Qin Tian said. William II had promised long ago that he would not interfere in this matter, so William II would definitely not object to the engagement and marriage between him and Princess Gundland. Early the next morning, Qin Tian left Munich by special train. On the platform of the train station, Qin Tian embraced Princess Gundland affectionately and kissed passionately regardless of everyone's eyes. Although they haven't known each other for a long time, the progress is very fast. Except for the last step, everything else that should be done and should not be done has already been done. This made Qin Tian, who was an otaku in his previous life, very proud. On July 10th, Qin Tian returned to Berlin. As soon as he returned to Berlin, Qin Tian went directly to the palace to ask to see William II. Oscar, welcome back. How is your trip to Munich this time? Wilhelm II asked with a smile. Of course, through the secret intelligence organization controlled by the royal family, Qin Tian's every move in Munich these days can be said to be under his control. Father, I'm very satisfied with this trip to Munich. Princess Gundland and I have come together. Qin Tian said happily. Haha, well done. Oscar, you are very good at capturing a beautiful princess so quickly. William II laughed. Father, I came back to Berlin this time to tell you. I have already proposed to Princess Gundland. And she also agreed to my proposal. King Ludwig III did not object. Now, I formally consult your opinion. Qin Tian said. It's just that, although it is said to consult William II, but in fact Qin Tian had already made up his mind. William II was also well aware of this. Of course he wouldn't object to that. In that case, the relationship between him and Qin Tian will undoubtedly be greatly affected. Oscar, you are my most outstanding son, and I support your choice. William II said. Thank you, father. Qin Tian was very happy. Father, His Majesty Ludwig III proposed that Princess Gundland will only turn 18 next year, so I hope we can get engaged first this year and get married next year. Qin Tian continued. King William II nodded. Of course, there is no problem. You can settle it first and wait until next year to get married. What happened after that has nothing to do with Qin Tian. William II and Ludwig III, after discussing, decided to make Qin Tian and Princess Gundland get engaged 1 month later. When the news came out, the whole of Germany was in an uproar. Even though the news that Qin Tian has taken a fancy to Princess Gundland is already well known throughout Germany. However, it was beyond everyone's expectation that they would come together so quickly. I don't know how many noble girls are depressed because of this. Although, even if you are married, you can still get a divorce. What's more, this is just an engagement. However, the emperor or crown prince of a country rarely divorces. Therefore, this also means that they have no chance. However, no matter how unhappy they are, they can't change all this. On August 18, 1908, Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind were officially engaged in Berlin. And the date of their wedding has also been set, which will be in September next year, the second month after Princess Gundlind turns 18. Chapter 114, New Weapon Exhibition. After Qin Tian got engaged to Princess Gundlind, his life also changed. He no longer devotes all his time and energy to work, and every month he takes time to go to Munich, or Princess Gundlind to Berlin. They are already engaged, and no one will say anything when they are together. Of course, young men and women are like dry wood and fire, and it can be ignited at any point. On a night full of moonlight, Qin Tian and Princess Gundlind merged into one body, making Qin Tian, who has been a human being for 2 generations, feel the beauty of the love between a man and a woman for the first time. It also made him obsessed for a while. However, Qin Tian is a person with lofty aspirations after all. Now he not only has to think about his own future, but also the future of his lover. Now, he is a high-ranking crown prince, but once Germany is defeated, he will fall into the sky, and even Princess Gundlind will be greatly affected by this. Therefore, for the future, he must work harder. In October 1908, good news came from the Krupp Company. They had completed all the development of the 343mm naval gun, and could enter mass production. At the same time, the development of the 380mm caliber main gun was officially launched. Next, they will invest heavily in the development of this large caliber naval gun. In November, the Deutsche Arms Company, jointly invested by the Deutsche Industries Group and Krupp, achieved success in the light weapons planned by Qin Tian. Semi-automatic rifles, sniper rifles, squad and general purpose machine guns, as well as mortars and grenades, were developed and tested. This made Qin Tian very satisfied. It is still several years before the war breaks out. If the German army can start a large-scale refit from now on, and replace all of these new weapons, this will bring the German army's combat effectiveness to a higher level again. In future wars, the possibility of winning will naturally be greater. Gustav Krupp specially rushed to Qin Tian's office to discuss the next move. His Royal Highness, we have already developed all the weapons you requested to develop. At present, they are undergoing testing. I have asked the experts for their opinions, because the technical difficulty is not that great, so there will be no big problems. It is estimated that the test can be completed in 1 month. Then, what should we do next? Gustav Krupp stared at Qin Tian with burning eyes. Mr. Krupp, if there are no problems with the test, then we should sell these weapons to the army in the next step. I think that these weapons with excellent performance should not be too big of a problem if they want to be favored by the army. Go. Qin Tian said. His Royal Highness, the performance of these weapons is indeed very advanced. However, I'm afraid that this does not mean that the army will purchase them. The smile on Gustav Krupp's face faded. Oh, why? Qin Tian was taken aback. Could it be that the top brass of the army have water in their heads? Instead of purchasing excellent weapons and equipment, they instead purchase weapons with poor performance. Isn't this going to send more soldiers to die on the battlefield? Qin Tian couldn't accept this. His Royal Highness, our weapons are advanced in performance, but the cost is a little higher, so the purchase price will be slightly more expensive. In addition, Mauser and Rheinmetall will definitely try to hinder us. They are in the army system. The connections are not weaker than ours. Gustav Krupp had a serious expression on his face. Qin Tian nodded. He understood what Gustav Krupp meant. Once the products of Deutsche Arms Company are successful, it will undoubtedly further reduce the share of Mauser and Rheinmetall. It will even make the 2 companies lose money. This is undoubtedly unacceptable for the 2 companies. Therefore, they will definitely use all their strength to stop the German Arms Company. Even if Qin Tian's status is noble and the Krupp Company is powerful, they cannot make them give up. After all, this is a matter of their life and death. Krupp's influence in the German army is indeed great. However, Mauser and Rheinmetall are not bad either. If the two companies unite, they can even compete with Mauser. Therefore, if the German arms company wants to succeed, it undoubtedly still has a long way to go. Even though he knew that the difficulties would be great, Qin Tian would not give up easily. You have already achieved this step, how can you give up halfway? What's more, Qin Tian's actions will certainly affect the interests of some people. However, everything he did was for the German Empire, to win wars in the future. Qin Tian has a clear conscience about this. He also believes that other people can understand his painstaking efforts. Even so, we can't give up. I believe that we will be able to succeed. How about this? Next month, on Christmas Eve, we will hold a new weapon display at the shooting range, and I will find a way to invite His Majesty. They will also be present. At that time, all the generals of the army will definitely be present. As long as our weapons can perform well, I believe they will not open their eyes and talk nonsense. As long as an agreement can be reached, no matter how dissatisfied Sir and Rheinmetall are, there is no other way. Qin Tian said. This is a way. I will also mobilize the contacts of Krupp to break through the obstacles of Mauser and Rheinmetall. This time, no one can stop us. Gustav Krupp also has the same fighting spirit soaring. Qin Tian and Gustav Krupp took action immediately. Qin Tian went to the palace and invited William II to attend the new weapon exhibition of the German Arms Company. In this regard, William II stated that he would participate. Although William II was busy, but he still showed his support for Qin Tian. William II wanted to see what kind of new weapons Qin Tian could bring out this time. With the example of the Navy, he is looking forward to Qin Tian more and more. After all, if Germany's military power can be further strengthened, even if a war breaks out in the future, Germany's chances of winning will be even greater. The Army General Staff, the chief officers and generals of the Ministry of the Army were also invited. Chief of the General Staff Malky, Deputy Chief of the General Staff General Waldsee, Minister of War von Falkenhayn, and Minister of the Navy Marshal Count Tirpitz will all participate in this new weapons exhibition. Although they are all big shots, they still want to give Qin Tian face. Gustav Krupp urged the R&D department to be foolproof this time. Chapter 115, Army Shock. On December 22, 1908, a shooting range outside Berlin. Today, the shooting range is completely closed. People from the army and the security department have closely monitored the place. On the one hand, all the people who came to participate in the new weapons exhibition of the German Armament Company were the big figures of the empire. Not only the important generals of the army, but also the Emperor of the Empire. There was no room for sloppy security. On the other hand, all of these weapons developed by the German Arms Company are state secrets. Once acquired by a hostile country, it will be a serious threat to the German Empire. Qin Tian also wanted the army of the German Empire to rely on these weapons to crush the armies of other countries and win a brilliant victory in the future world war. Hurry up, arrange everything. It's almost time. Your Majesty and His Royal Highness will be here soon. Gustav Krupp, who arrived at the shooting range ahead of time, was in charge of a series of preparatory work such as the layout of the venue. Yes, Chairman. The personnel sent by Krupp, as well as the people from the Deutsche Arms Company, are busy to ensure that this exhibition can be successfully concluded without any problems. Several gentlemen, can you confirm that there is no problem with the weapons displayed? Gustav Krupp asked. Your Excellency, Chairman, everything is ready. These weapons have been tested by us repeatedly, and there will be no problems. An assured engineer Gustav Krupp. Gustav Krupp nodded, and then he was relieved. At 9 o'clock in the morning, a long line of cars drove into the shooting range. These cars are all Daimler A-class cars produced by Daimler, which is controlled by Qin Tian. Once this car came out, it immediately became the representative of the most luxurious cars on the market. Although the price of each car was as high as 50,000 marks, it still couldn't stop the buying enthusiasm of those big businessmen, big capitalists and big nobles, and the sales were very hot. Although the sales of A-class cars are not as good as those of B-class and C-class cars, they still represent the most luxurious cars in Germany and Europe. William II and Qin Tian arrived at the shooting range in the same A-class car. In the cars behind, there were also other high-ranking Army and Navy officials who also arrived at the shooting range. Of course, the Army is the bulk of the procurement of these weapons. But the Navy is not without needs. What's more, Qin Tian also plans to allow the Navy to establish its own Marine Corps. In this case, the Navy will have a certain land combat strength. At the same time, this army will also be under his control. When Zhao Maoki was the chief of the Army's general staff, Qin Tian's influence in the army could not be further expanded. Except for the Minister of War von Falkenhayn who was on Qin Tian's side, there were quite a few powerful generals who did not move closer to him. Obviously, they were all from Little Maoki. This made Qin Tian have to use other methods to further improve his strength. If the Navy can have a Marine Corps, or even develop its strength to 10 divisions, it will be of great help to Qin Tian. Of course, if the Navy establishes the Marine Corps, it will inevitably cause a strong backlash from the army. Therefore, this matter must be done step by step. Good morning, Your Majesty. Gustav Krupp had been waiting here for a long time, and when he saw William II get off the car, he immediately greeted him. Mr. Krupp, good morning. Wilhelm II nodded. A big businessman like Gustav Krupp also has great influence in Germany. Even William II would not put on airs in front of him. His Royal Highness. Gustav Krupp immediately greeted Qin Tian again. Mr. Krupp, is everything ready? Qin Tian asked. Please rest assured, Your Royal Highness, everything is ready. Gustav Krupp replied. Qin Tian nodded. He believed that with Gustav Krupp's ability, this time the new weapons exhibition would be successfully held. At 9:30 in the morning, after a short speech, the new weapon exhibition officially began. The first performance is the general-purpose machine gun developed by the German Armaments Company. This machine gun is codenamed MG-09 General-Purpose Machine Gun. On the shooting range, 5 MG-09 General-Purpose machine guns are ready to fire. On receiving the order to fire, the machine gunner pulled the trigger. Da-da-da. Intensive gunshots sounded instantly, and the hot bullets enveloped the target in the distance like a storm. Sawdust flew across, and in a blink of an eye the wooden target was battered by the dense bullets. Kang, and even some targets had been shattered. In less than half a minute, the belt with 250 rounds of ammunition had been fired. The barrel of the machine gun also turned red due to the high temperature. The generals of the Army and Navy looked at the MG-09 general-purpose machine guns in amazement. Obviously, the rate of fire of these general-purpose machine guns is faster than the MG-08 heavy machine gun currently equipped by the Army. His Royal Highness, is this the heavy machine gun you developed? The rate of fire seems to be very fast. Minister of War von Falkenhayn asked. Originally, he had no hope for the newly established German arms company. How can a newly established arms company develop good products in a short period of time? However, the fact gave him a slap in the face. Other generals undoubtedly thought the same way. But now they are all shocked. Yes, this is a machine gun we developed. However, we don't call it a heavy machine gun, but a general-purpose machine gun. Qin Tian said. Universal machine gun? Everyone is guessing what the name means. Mr. Krupp, please introduce the performance of our general-purpose machine gun to Your Majesty and the generals. Qin Tian said. Okay, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Gustav Krupp nodded with a smile on his face. Of course he saw it, and these army generals were shocked. This also shows that the performance of the MG-09 general-purpose machine gun far exceeded their expectations. Your Majesty, Your Excellencies, Generals. The general-purpose machine gun we developed has a total weight of 12.5 kilograms. Even with the tripod, the total weight is only 20 kilograms, which is only equivalent to 1/3 of the MG-08 heavy machine gun currently equipped by the Army. Arrived. The muzzle velocity of the muzzle is 750 meters per second. The maximum firing range is 2000 meters, and the ammunition belt is used to feed the ammunition, and the maximum firing rate is 800 rounds per minute. Gustav Krupp introduced several key data. The generals of the Army seem to have been shocked by the performance of the MG-09 general-purpose machine gun. Compared with the MG-08 heavy machine gun they are currently equipped with, it is simply rubbish. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. Strongest Infantry Firepower. Your Majesty, there is no doubt that this is a very good machine gun. It is much better than the MG08 heavy machine gun we are currently equipped with. It not only has a faster rate of fire, but also is lighter in weight, suitable for accompanying troops in combat. Von Falkenhayn to Wilhelm II. King William II nodded. The weight of the MG08 heavy machine gun has always been criticized by the troops. It weighs more than 60 kilograms and requires 2 people to lift it. On the battlefield, it can only be used as a fixed firepower point. In contrast, a general-purpose machine gun with only 20 kilograms is undoubtedly more applicable. Most of the other generals also quietly repeatedly agreeing that the general-purpose machine gun is better than the MG08 heavy machine gun. The chief of the German Army's General Staff, Malky, did not speak, as if the general-purpose machine gun produced by the German Arms Company had only that performance. In fact, Zhao Maoki was also shocked in his heart, but he just pretended to be calm and didn't show it. How is this possible? In such a short period of time, the Deutsche Arms Company has developed such an excellent product. If this continues, how can Mauser and Rheinmetall compete with them? Oscar's influence will definitely go further. Expansion. Little Maoki was worried. He has a good relationship with Mauser and Rheinmetall, and naturally he doesn't want the market share of the 2 companies to be seized by the German Arms Company. At the same time, Zhao Maoki also knew that once Qin Tian gained more power, he might be the chief of the general staff. For his own benefit, he must do his best to prevent Qin Tian from expanding his influence in the army. Even if these weapons are excellent, they are very helpful in improving the combat effectiveness of the German army and will enable the German army to achieve greater victories at the lowest cost in future wars. But for his own benefit, little Maoki would turn a blind eye to this. It's just that Zhao Maoki didn't think about how to stop Qin Tian for a while, so he didn't speak. After the general-purpose machine gun, it was the performance of the squad machine gun. Compared with the MG09 general-purpose machine gun, the squad machine gun codenamed MG10 is lighter in weight. Although the rate of fire and effective range cannot be compared with the MG09 general-purpose machine gun, it is more suitable for individual carrying. The design of 5 MG10 squad machine guns started, and the 30 rounds of bullets in a magazine were shot out in an instant. The machine gunners immediately changed magazines and continued to fire. Repeatedly, a total of 5 magazines were used up before all the machine guns stopped firing. Generals, this is the second machine gun developed by the German Armaments Company. We call it a squad machine gun. As the name suggests, this is a machine gun assigned to each infantry squad. This machine gun weighs only 9.5 kilograms. Very it is, so light that it can be carried by a soldier. It uses magazines to feed ammunition, with a rate of fire of 500 rounds per minute and a maximum range of 1,500 meters. Gustav Krupp continued to introduce its every infantry squad equipped with machine guns. This is really crazy. In this case, how powerful our infantry firepower will be. General Walzer, the deputy chief of the Army's general staff, said with a look on his face emotion. Other army generals almost have the same expressions. The firepower of the German army was already very powerful, and it was absolutely top-notch among the world's armies. However, if each infantry squad is equipped with machine guns, this will further increase the firepower of the German army, which will have an overwhelming advantage over the armies of other countries. After the MG10 general-purpose machine gun, it is the performance of the M1 semi-automatic rifle and the M2 sniper rifle. The rate of fire of the M1 semi-automatic rifle is twice that of the existing Mauser rifle. This also means that using the M1 semi-automatic rifle, one soldier can exert the firepower of 2 soldiers. Although the effective range and accuracy are slightly worse than the Mauser 1898 rifle on the battlefield, this is not a big problem. In fierce battles, maintaining a strong firepower output is the most important thing. M2 sniper rifle is a special sniper rifle equipped with a scope. If a specially trained sniper uses this sniper rifle, it will become a nightmare for the enemy on the battlefield. Qin Tian is even more aware of how effective an excellent sniper team can be on the battlefield. Especially in street fighting, the effect will be further revealed. Wilhelm II was very satisfied after seeing the performance of these firearms of the German Arms Company. There is no doubt that the performance of these firearms is much stronger than what the German army is currently equipped with, or has not yet been equipped with. Once equipped with the German army, this will further improve the combat effectiveness of the German army. Oscar, you did a great job. The firearms you have developed are all very good. William II greatly appreciated Qin Tian's achievements. Father, this is just the beginning. In addition to these firearms, we have 2 other weapons that need to be tested by everyone. Qin Tian said. Well, let's start. William II nodded. The next performance is the mortar. Mortars of 3 calibers took turns. All of a sudden, the entire range was filled with the sound of gunfire. Artillery such as mortars have already appeared in the Russo-Japanese War. However, it hasn't gotten everyone's attention yet. In order to let the generals know the performance of the mortars, Qin Tian asked these mortars to shoot at the targets in the trenches when they fired. After seeing the performance of these mortars, many generals were all impressed. Obviously, this kind of artillery capable of curved fire will pose a deadly threat to the enemies hiding in the trenches. It can even rely on precision strikes to attack the enemy's machine gun firepower points and bunkers and other fortifications. The role of this on the battlefield is undoubtedly very large. After the mortar, it was the grenadier. This kind of artillery, which is lighter and easier for infantry to carry, also shocked the generals of the army. Although the power of the grenade is small and the range is not far, but for infantry, it is enough. After all, the distance of infantry combat is often within 100 or 200 meters, or even within tens of meters. The range of the grenade is enough to cover it. Father, all generals. These weapons are carefully developed by the German Arms Company for infantry. Especially infantry squads and infantry platoons need to be equipped with these weapons. Once our troops are equipped with these weapons, our infantry will form an overwhelming advantage over the enemy, Qin Tian said confidently. Chapter 117, Notpick. In Qin Tian's view, if every infantry squad in the German army could be equipped with an MG-10 squad machine gun, a grenadier, and a sniper rifle, and if the remaining soldiers were equipped with M1 semi-automatic rifles, it would make Germany the army's firepower has reached the level of World War II in another time and space, and it is still top-notch. In this case, the German army will have an even greater advantage in the upcoming World War I. Even if the war once again fell into trench warfare, the German army had enough firepower to crush the trench warfare of the British and French allied forces. Therefore, Qin Tian couldn't wait to develop these weapons, hoping to equip the German army as soon as possible. There are still a few years before the war breaks out. If the German army starts to change its equipment from now on, it will be in time. Father, all generals, everyone must be very familiar with the performance of these weapons developed by the German Arms Company. In order for the German Empire to crush Britain, France, Russia and other countries in future wars, I hope that the army can use German arms. The weapons developed by the company will be replaced with the weapons currently equipped by the army, which will further enhance the combat effectiveness of the German Empire army. After Qin Tian finished speaking, he looked at the army generals. Qin Tian thought that it was a matter of course that the army began to change its outfit after this exhibition. However, Qin Tian soon realized that he seemed to be wrong. All this seems to be very difficult to achieve his goal. What do you think of His Highness the Crown Prince's suggestion? William II looked at the generals of the army. On this issue, even if he is the emperor, it is difficult to directly force the army to accept his orders. Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, the weapons developed by the German Armament Company are indeed very good. If the military expenditure permits, I think it should be changed. Minister of War von Falkenhayn was the first to express his opinion. On the one hand, these weapons developed by the German Arms Company are indeed excellent. Once equipped, they can further enhance the strength of the German army. On the other hand, it was von Falkenhayn who actively approached Qin Tian. Von Falkenhayn, who had been overwhelmed by Little Maoki all this time, has now turned to Qin Tian in an all-round way in order to pull Zhao Maoki down, and has become Qin Tian's representative in the army. The other generals also spoke one after another. However, most of these generals are people who support Qin Tian. Another part is silent. These people are people from Little Moltke, and people who are close to Mauser and Rheinmetall. Although they have already seen the excellent performance of these weapons of the German armament company, they have received the benefits of Mauser and Rheinmetall, so naturally they have to speak for them. Your Majesty, if a large-scale refit is carried out, I'm afraid it will cost a lot of money. Your Royal Highness, the weapons developed by the German armaments company are of good performance. However, the price may not be low, right? Deputy Chief of Staff Val General D said with a frown. Qin Tian nodded. The price of the M1 semi-automatic rifle is almost twice that of the Mauser 1898 rifle. Then how much will it cost if a large-scale refit is carried out? The general suddenly started talking. Even William II couldn't help frowning. Although, the standing army of the German army is only a few 100,000 people. But once war breaks out, that number will rise to 3 million or more. This also means that they must purchase enough weapons for storage before the outbreak of war. Such a large amount of money is undoubtedly a huge pressure on Germany, which is already heavily indebted. Although the weapons developed by the German arms company are good, the price is too expensive. Therefore, I suggest that the army purchase in small batches first, and then reinstall them after the military expenditure is sufficient. Anyway, the current combat effectiveness of the German army is still number one in the world. The advantage in weapons will not be very obvious to us. Little Moki said. Qin Tian's face suddenly turned a little ugly. In order to expand its military and prepare for war, Germany's finances can be said to be in deficit year after year. Even if the war broke out, Germany's finances would not improve. It will not even be better until the future Germany wins the war. Can't wait until that time for the German army to purchase these weapons from the German arms company? In that case, wouldn't Qin Tian's painstaking efforts be in vain? The reason why he urged the arms company to develop these weapons as soon as possible is to hope that the German army can use these weapons to reduce losses in future wars. After all, Germany has a small population, and every young and middle-aged man is a valuable labor force. Your Majesty, the weapons developed by His Royal Highness's munitions company are excellent in performance. However, there is a fatal flaw that will greatly increase our logistical pressure, a German general said. Indeed, these weapons and equipment developed by the German arms company have a fast rate of fire and powerful firepower, which means that on the battlefield, the ammunition that needs to be consumed will increase exponentially, and this will also greatly increase the logistics force pressure. However, Qin Tian doesn't think this is a big problem. If the combat effectiveness of the troops can be further improved, even if the logistical pressure is greatly increased, it is totally worth it. The problem of logistical pressure, we can increase logistical personnel and use other methods to solve it. For example, equip more trucks in the logistical force. In this case, it will not cause much problem. Von Falkenhayn said, the two machine guns developed by the Deutsche Arms Company are both air-cooled machine guns. Compared with water-cooled machine guns, the weight has been reduced, and the rate of fire has also been increased. But I noticed that these two machine guns are in continuous use. After shooting, the barrel of the gun is already red. If this is the case, I'm afraid that we will not be able to continue firing. Another general said. That's not a problem. We can replace the barrel with a spare barrel as soon as it's worn out. A well-trained machine gunner can change the barrel in seconds. Gustav Kruse said. However, that will create a gap between shots and create opportunities for the attacking enemy. At the same time, carrying a spare barrel will increase the soldier's load. It is also very unfavorable for the cost, which will further increase our cost of use, retorted the army general. Chapter 118, Small Batch Facelift. Little Moltke's confidant generals, as well as generals who have received benefits from Mauser and Rheinmetall, have stood up against the weapons and equipment developed by the German arms company. They hold on to those disadvantages and continue to exaggerate them, as if the German army were to switch to those weapons, not only would its combat effectiveness not be improved, but it would be further weakened. The faces of these guys made Qin Tian very disgusted, and at the same time, he became more determined in his heart that once he came to power in the future, these guys must be cleaned up. These guys have completely become moths in the German army. Keeping them will only lead to the decline of the German army. Qin Tian would absolutely not allow such a situation to happen. He also wants to lead the German army, win one victory after another, and become the overlord of the planet. Gustav Krupp looked at Qin Tian anxiously. He never expected such a situation to happen. Even William II couldn't help but look sideways at it. Obviously, he did not expect so many people in the army to oppose the replacement of these advanced weapons. Generals, don't you all turn a blind eye to the excellent performance of these weapons? I'm very surprised. What are you thinking? Qin Tian said with a dark face. A group of generals suddenly became silent. They all saw Qin Tian's face and knew that Qin Tian was unhappy. Of course, they received a lot of benefits, but it doesn't mean they are willing to confront Qin Tian. Especially when Qin Tian's crown prince status became more and more stable. Offending Qin Tian meant that once Qin Tian became the emperor of the German Empire, he might not have a good life without them. Therefore, many generals kept silent. His Royal Highness, everyone is just discussing the facts. Your Highness doesn't need to oppress everyone with his status. Zhao Maoki said with a sullen face. Your Excellency, Chief of the General Staff, am I just talking about the facts? When did you use your status to suppress people? Qin Tian replied ****4tat. Originally, the relationship between Qin Tian and Zhao Maoki had eased somewhat. But obviously, it was all in vain now. The conflict between the two became acute again. Okay, stop arguing, both of you. You are both important leaders of the German Empire. How can you quarrel over these trivial matters? William II said with a dark face. Qin Tian and Zhao Maoki couldn't help but shut their mouths. However, the eyes that looked at each other were obviously full of anger. Qin Tian has made up his mind that when he takes over, he will definitely replace Little Maoki. As for Zhao Maoki, he was also determined to set up obstacles for Qin Tian. Of course, he has no way to pull Qin Tian from the position of crown prince. However, it shouldn't be a problem to stop Qin Tian step by step and limit Qin Tian's power. General Waldsee, what do you think of the new weapons developed by the German Arms Company? Is it necessary for us to carry out a large-scale refit of the army? Wilhelm II asked. Your Majesty, I have to admit that the weapons developed by the German Arms Company are very advanced. If all the army is replaced, our combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. But this requires a lot of money. On the other hand, the logistical pressure on the troops will indeed be great. So, I would not recommend a full army refit, General Waldsee said. Qin Tian and Gustav Krupp's complexions were not so good. Qin Tian's plan was affected, while Gustav Krupp was worried that the German Arms Company would lose money. After all, he and Qin Tian invested huge sums of money in this arms company, and at the same time expended so much energy. If there is a loss, it would be somewhat unacceptable. King William II nodded, although he really wanted to help Qin Tian on this issue. However, the opinion of the army cannot be ignored. After all, although the power of the Emperor of the German Empire is not small, it can never be compared with the Emperor of the Eastern Empire. Their power is still greatly restricted, and there are many things that need to be considered. Your Majesty, even if the current finances do not allow us to carry out large-scale refitting of the army's equipment, we can still do a battery fitting first. Replacing part of the equipment every year, in this case, will improve the combat effectiveness of the troops. It would also be of great help, suggested War Secretary von Falkenhayn. Well, this method is good. Let's do it like this. William II finally made a final decision. Although Zhao Maoki and others still want to continue to oppose, but William II had already made a decision, and they couldn't say anything more. If you continue to oppose it, it will undoubtedly offend William II. In the situation where the relationship with Qin Tian was already very stiff, if he offended William II again, the consequences would be very serious. Next, Wilhelm II left. He has given Qin Tian face by coming to this new weapon exhibition. He still has a lot of other affairs to deal with, so naturally it is impossible to stay here for too long. As for the amount of weapons and equipment the army wants to purchase, Gustav Krupp went to discuss with General Waldsee. under the condition that His Majesty the Emperor already had instructions. Gustav Krupp and General Waldsee did not take much time to reach an agreement. His Royal Highness, the army promised to purchase 2,000 MG-09 general purpose machine guns, 5,000 MG-10 squad machine guns, 5,000 M2 sniper rifles and 20,000 M1 semi-automatic rifles, and 2,000 mortars of various types. I will purchase 3,000 pieces. After reaching an agreement with General Waldsee, Gustav Krupp said to Qin Tian. Qin Tian nodded. Although this purchase volume is far from our expectation, it can at least guarantee the normal operation of the factory. Next, let's continue to think of a way. Gustav Krupp nodded. Judging from the current situation, it seems that it is very difficult to make a lot of money on the project of the German arms company. But Gustav Krupp also knew that there was no way to do it. Who would have expected so many generals to oppose it? He didn't need to think about it, and knew that it must be the crazy blockade launched by Mauser and Rheinmetall. This time, it is not bad to be able to get some orders. It's better than being completely rejected by the army. What's more, Qin Tian is still the crown prince of the German Empire. As his power grows, he will definitely be able to further increase the army's orders in the future. Chapter 119, Marines. By the way, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellency Count Tirpitz asked me to tell you that he has gone back to the Admiralty first. Regarding the purchase of our weapons by the Navy, I ask you to go to the Admiralty to talk to him. Gustav, said Krupp. Qin Tian nodded. Originally, he put the focus of this exhibition on the army. After all, the army is the bulk of the procurement of these weapons. There are very few places where the Navy can use it. Even if all the Navy is refitted, there will not be too many orders. However, under the circumstances that the army will not purchase these weapons developed by the German armament company on a large scale, Qin Tian has to think of other ways. The Navy, perhaps, will be a breakthrough. It's time to set up the Marine Corps. Once the Marine Corps is established, if we purchase all the weapons from the German arms company, we will get more orders. At the same time, the combat effectiveness of the Marine Corps will be very strong. More importantly, yes, this will be an armed force completely on my side. Qin Tian thought secretly. Today's weapons exhibition touched him greatly. Although he was in the army, he received a lot of support. Especially the Minister of War von Falkenhayn made it clear that he supported him. However, it is undeniable that there are still many people who oppose him in the army, especially the old boy Xiaomoki. Therefore, if Qin Tian wanted to further expand the military power he controlled, he had to find another way. The establishment of the Marine Corps has undoubtedly become his best choice. Mr. Krupp, I will leave the matter of the German arms company to you. I will go to the Navy to see if there is any way to further increase our order. Qin Tian said. Yes, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Gustav Krupp nodded. Although, he thinks this possibility may not be too great. But for the German arms company, nothing is better than nothing. Qin Tian went to the Admiralty by car, while Gustav Krupp began to deploy the next production of the German armaments company. For them, this weapons exhibition was undoubtedly unsuccessful. Even, these weapons and equipment have played an excellent performance. However, it is still difficult for them to accept that they have not been able to obtain the huge orders they want. Mauser, Rheinmetall, you blocked us. Gustav Krupp, remember this time. Gustav Krupp gritted his teeth and said, if it hadn't been for Mauser and Rheinmetall to stop them with all their strength, maybe the situation would be different. When Qin Tian arrived at the Admiralty, he was told that Marshal Earl Tirpitz was already waiting for him in his office. His Excellency, Crown Prince, congratulations. The German arms company is really good, and the weapons developed are really great. Marshal Count Tirpitz said. Yes, Your Excellency. Marshal, I also think the weapons we have developed are very good. But unfortunately, they have not been favored by the army, and the orders are very small. I really don't know what those guys are thinking. Qin Tian said a little speechlessly. Your Highness, don't worry, gold always shines. Although due to the obstruction of certain people and forces, the Deutsche Arms Company has not received many orders. But I believe that the future prospects of the Deutsche Arms Company will be very optimistic. After all, once war breaks out, the demand for advanced weapons will greatly increase. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said. Qin Tian shook his head. Your Excellency, Marshal, I understand what you mean. However, I don't want that to happen. Obviously, we can gain an overwhelming advantage with our advanced weapons and obtain the final victory on the battlefield at the lowest cost. Victory, but while let those soldiers die. The population of Germany is not large. The life of every soldier is precious. I sincerely hope that in this war, we can kill fewer people of. Marshal Earl Tirpitz understood what Qin Tian meant, but he could do nothing about it. Although he has a high position and authority, the army is out of his control. Marshal Earl Tirpitz also knew that with little Moltke around, it was almost impossible to change the army's costumes on a large scale. Zhao Maoki, as long as I'm in power, it will be the day you step down. Qin Tian thought secretly. He clearly remembered that in another time and space, the reason why little Maoki stepped down was because the German offensive on the Western Front could not break through and fell into a stalemate, and the casualties of the troops continued to rise, which made Kaiser Wilhelm II lost confidence in little Maoki. Qin Tian didn't want to replace Maoki after reaching that step. In that case, it will be too late, Your Highness. This is a purchase order from the Navy. Although most officers and soldiers of the Navy are on board, they rarely use rifles. But our troops guarding the naval base still need to be equipped with these weapons. Marshal Count Tirpitz handed a document to Qin Tian. Qin Tian nodded, took it, glanced at it, and said nothing more. There are not many orders given by the Navy, which is determined by the actual situation of the Navy. In fact, there are already quite a few orders from Marshal Earl Tirpitz. Qin Tian knew that it was Earl Tirpitz and Marshal who was trying to help him. Your Excellency, Marshal, I have a proposal. Qin Tian put the document away and said, please tell me, Your Highness. Marshal Count Tirpitz also wanted to know what kind of whimsy Qin Tian had. Your Excellency the Marshal, the main force of the Navy is undoubtedly the surface ships. However, we cannot deny that the Navy cannot have ground troops. I think that the Navy can establish a Marine Corps specifically for landing. In the future during the war, it was used as the first wave of landing troops to open up a landing field for crossing the sea, so as to reduce the casualties of the army during the landing operations as much as possible. Qin Tian confessed his thoughts. Marshal Earl Tirpitz's eyes immediately brightened. If the Navy can have a Marine Corps, it would be the best. This will further enhance the influence of the Navy. Of course, Marshal Earl Tirpitz also knew what Qin Tian meant, and it was nothing more than to expand his control over military power and increase the orders of the German Arms Company. His Royal Highness, this is a good idea. However, this may cause a strong reaction from the army. Marshal Count Tirpitz was a little worried. We can make it clear that the purpose of this force is to land operations. At the same time, we can build a division or a brigade first. In this case, the rebound should not be too big. Chapter 120, Advice. Marshal Earl Tirpitz was very moved by Qin Tian's proposal to form a Marine Corps for the Navy. If the Navy can have a ground combat force, it will further enhance the strength of the Navy. In many cases, there is no need to look at Liu Jun's face anymore. There will be more or less conflicts between the army and navy of a country. It's just that the magnitude of the contradictions is different. Similar to Germany, the contradiction between the army and the navy is not too big, but it's still there are also countries where the conflict between the army and the navy is so great that it seems that they are mortal enemies, and they can put hatred before national interests, just like Japan**. His Royal Highness, I and the generals of the Navy undoubtedly support the formation of the Marine Corps. However, it is not easy to really do it. Marshal Count Tirpitz said with a serious face. All along, ground forces are under the control of the army. If the Navy wants to break this practice, one can imagine how big the army's reaction will be. Even, it will trigger a new round of conflicts between the Navy and the army. The Navy has been building warships frantically during this period, which has tilted military expenditures to the Navy, and the army is already very dissatisfied with this. If the Navy tries to form its own ground forces, the contradictions will probably be even greater. Your Excellency Marshal, even if it is difficult, we still have to push forward. Once successful, this will be a huge success for the Navy, Qin Tian said. Marshal Earl Tirpitz nodded. Well, let's go to the palace first and report to His Majesty. It would be great if we can get His Majesty's support. In that case, even if the army objects, we will be able to deal with it. HMM. Qin Tian didn't have any opinion on this. Marshal Earl Tirpitz was already highly valued by William II, and with the opinion of his crown prince, the possibility of William II's opposition would not be too high. It was nearly noon, and after a simple lunch, Marshal Earl Tirpitz and Qin Tian rushed to the palace to report to William II the idea of establishing the Marine Corps, hoping to win the support of William II. At this time, William II was preparing for a lunch break, but Qin Tian and Marshal Earl Tirpitz came together, so he could only cancel this lunch break. Your Majesty, the Navy has a plan that I hope can be approved by Your Majesty. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said straight to the point. Huh? What plan? William II asked. Now, the Imperial Navy is booming, seeing that it is not far from the British Navy, which makes William II very happy. He often turns a blind eye to various plans of the Navy, as long as they are not too far away. No trouble, they will be approved directly, Your Majesty. According to the current development speed of the Navy, the possibility of us defeating the British in future wars is very high. Therefore, we need to prepare for this in advance. Once a Navy defeats the British, if we still refuse to surrender, but continue to be our enemy, we may have to consider landing in the British mainland to fight. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said. Landing in the UK to fight? William II couldn't help, but his eyes lit up. Landing in the UK is the dream of many European countries. However, even Napoleon the Great, who dominated Europe at the beginning, failed. If Germany can do it, isn't he more powerful than Napoleon the Great? William II was undoubtedly very interested in this. Is the Navy really sure of defeating the Royal Navy? William II asked. Although William II has always regarded this as a goal, and knows that the Navy is developing rapidly, he still has some doubts about it. Your Majesty, it is impossible to be completely sure. However, we are at least 60% sure that we can defeat the British. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said. 60% sure, that's not low. William II nodded, very satisfied with this. So, Your Majesty, we think that we must prepare for the future landing operations in the UK, after defeating the British Navy. Marshal Earl Tirpitz continued. What are you going to do? William II asked. Even at this time, he has not guessed what the Navy is going to do. We plan to establish a force specially tailored for landing operations, the Marine Corps. They will conduct special landing warfare training and be equipped with special landing warfare equipment. In this way, once an attack on the British mainland is required, they will be able to seize the beachhead as the first wave of attacking troops. Marshal Count Tirpitz said. Marines? William II frowned tightly. It was beyond his expectations that the Navy wanted to build such a force. Of course, William II knew that this was very helpful for enhancing the strength of the Navy. But in the same way, the army will definitely not agree, or even strongly oppose it. Oscar, what do you think? William II asked. Father, I think it is very necessary for the Navy to establish a Marine Corps. Landing battles, especially when landing on the beach, often cause the greatest casualties. Once we defeat the Royal Navy, the British will definitely use it to defend their homeland. The local defense construction is like an iron barrel. At that time, if an inexperienced army is dispatched to launch a landing operation, the corpses of the soldiers will fill the entire beach, and the blood will stain the sea red. We must try our best to avoid such a situation as much as possible. The life of every German boy is precious, and cannot be wasted like that. Qin Tian said. King William II had to admit that what Qin Tian said made sense. He also doesn't want to see dead bodies strewn across the fields when the German army invades the British mainland in the future. It's just that it's really good to let the Navy break the convention and build a Marine Corps. William II was a little undecided. Of course, Wilhelm II could see it. Marshal Earl Tirpitz proposed to establish the Marine Corps, which might be Qin Tian's idea. In the morning, Lu Jun refused to carry out a large-scale change of clothes, which angered Qin Tian. Now Qin Tian simply showed Lulu a little more power. To be honest, William II was not too satisfied with the performance of Little Moltke and the army generals in the morning. It's just that Little Malky is also the person he trusts the most, so he can't say much. Chapter 121, Army Backlash. Tirpitz. I personally have no objection to the establishment of the Marine Corps by the Navy. However, the Army will definitely have a very big opinion. The current international relations are very tense, and a war may break out at any time. It is hoped that the Army and Navy can cooperate sincerely instead of having conflicts. William II said. William II was most worried about this. If the military strength of Germany was affected because of the relationship between the Army and the Navy, it would be unacceptable to him. Your Majesty, such a situation should not happen, right? We established the Marine Corps for the sake of the Empire's future wars, not to compete for power with the Navy. If the Army cares about this, it would be too lacking in the overall situation. Marshal Earl Tirpitz said in a deep voice. Yes, Father. Everything we do is for the German Empire to win in future wars. This is the most important thing. In contrast, everything else can be put down. I believe that the Army will not. You will be so ignorant. Qin Tian also said. King William II felt a little depressed. Based on his understanding of Little Maoki was really such an ignorant person. At the same time, William II also realized that Qin Tian and Marshal Earl Tirpitz really posed a problem for him this time. Your Majesty, the Marine Corps we plan to build is not large, no more than 5 divisions at most. Compared with the Army's dozens of divisions, the Marine Corps is not worth worrying about at all. Tirpitz the Earl Marshal continued. 5 divisions? William II frowned. He didn't think this was a small number. With the current establishment of the German army, there are more than 80,000 people in 5 divisions. Of course, this pales in comparison to the army. Once the war starts, the German army will pull up a force with hundreds of infantry divisions at the first time, and will further expand later, to increase the total strength of the army to more than 200 divisions. Tirpitz, Oscar, I will consider this matter. I will give you an answer tomorrow afternoon. William II said. He didn't rush to answer, he needed to listen to the opinion of the army. Yes, Your Majesty, Royal Father. Marshal Earl Tirpitz and Qin Tian did not think that William II would be able to give them an answer right away. After Qin Tian and Marshal Earl Tirpitz left, Wilhelm II asked Essen von Jonnerried to disclose the news to the army, and to see their reactions, before making a decision. The Chief of Staff of the German Army, Maoki, has long regarded curbing Qin Tian's development in the army as one of his top priorities. Now that we know that Qin Tian actually encouraged the Navy to establish a Marine Corps, is it still worth it? Damn it, what are they trying to do? Are they going to break the convention? It's okay for that brat Oscar to be ignorant, but why is that guy Tirpitz following suit? Could it be that mastering the Navy is not enough for him, and he wants to build a ground force to challenge the army? Little Maoki was furious at this. Even though Marshal Earl Tirpitz is the Minister of the Navy, Little Moltke has always believed that his status is a head higher than Tirpitz. So he sees the Navy's attempt to build up the Marine Corps as a challenge to him. This is undoubtedly absolutely unacceptable to Maoki. People like him value status, power, and reputation more than anything else. No, absolutely cannot make their plan succeed. Otherwise, there will be no way to contain that kid. Little Maoki made up his mind in an instant. Although, as the Crown Prince, Qin Tian has a respected status. But Little Maoki was not willing to give in because of this. In the current empire, William II still has the final say. With the relationship between Little Maoki and William II, even if Qin Tian is the Crown Prince, he can't do anything to him. What's more, William II is in the prime of life, and his health is also very good. It is not a problem at all to live another 10 or 20 years. Therefore, Maoki is still very confident about his future. He didn't think that Qin Tian could inherit the throne anytime soon. This made him even more unscrupulous in the confrontation with Qin Tian. Come here, go and invite His Excellency von Falkenhayn and General Waldeser. Little Maoki ordered. Yes, Your Excellency the Chief of Staff. The secretary immediately went to make arrangements. In less than half an hour, Minister of War von Falkenhayn and Deputy Chief of Staff General Waldeser arrived at Little Moltke's office. You two, I just learned of very bad news, which is related to the vital interests of our army. Therefore, I hope that everyone can put aside their prejudices and unite for the benefit of the army. Maoki said seriously. Your Excellency, Chief of the General Staff, what happened? Von Falkenhayn asked. The conflict between him and Little Malky has almost become public. Although Little Maoki still occupies the dominant position, but after relying on Qin Tian, von Falkenhayn is not afraid of Little Maoki at all. General Wolsey was also very curious and didn't understand what happened to make Xiao Moki so serious. The Navy plans to form a Marine Corps, which is a ground force. Although it is said to be responsible for landing operations in name, everyone knows that it is simply to compete with us for interests. Therefore, this time we absolutely cannot back off. The Navy is responsible for the battle on the sea. The battle on the ground should be handed over to our army, Xiao Maoki said. Marines? General von Falkenhayn and Wolsey were equally stunned. It was also the first time they got the news. Of course, they also believe that this will be a major challenge to the interests of the army. You too, what's your opinion? Little Malky looked at von Falkenhayn, waiting for his answer. After all, in the army, von Falkenhayn was on Qin Tian's side. There is no doubt that the army is the only ground force of the empire. There is no need for the navy to establish a marine corps, von Falkenhayn said. As the minister of the army, if he doesn't want his subordinates to lose confidence in him, he must consider this issue from the army's standpoint. Little Malky nodded in satisfaction. It would be great if von Falkenhayn could be so knowledgeable. Your Excellency, Chief of Staff, I also think that we should prevent the establishment of the Marine Corps. General Walser also said. On this issue, the top brass of the German army have reached an agreement. Chapter 122, Emperor's Support. The next morning, Moltke Jr., von Falkenhayn, and Wolsey went to the palace together to show William II the attitude of the army and the Marine Corps. Your Majesty, it is absolutely unacceptable for the Navy to try to form a ground force. This breaks the long-standing practice. All along, the ground force of the German Empire has been formed and managed by the army. If the Navy intervenes, it will lead to confusion in management. Not only will it cause a waste of resources, but it will also cause great dissatisfaction in the army. Therefore, I implore your Majesty to veto the Navy's proposal. Xiao Maoki talked eloquently, listing the formation of the Marine Corps. The disadvantages of the plan require William II to directly veto the proposal of the Navy. William II's face also became serious, although he had already guessed that the Navy's attitude would be very tough. However, he found that he still underestimated the determination of the army in this regard. Is this the opinion of the entire army? William II asked. Yes, Your Majesty. Little Maoki replied immediately. King Wilhelm II looked at von Falkenhayn and Wolsey. Your Majesty, I also don't think it is necessary to establish the Marine Corps. Von Falkenhayn said. Your Majesty, landing warfare is no stranger to the Imperial Army. We can conduct special training in this area. Therefore, the Navy doesn't have to bother to build a new force alone. General Wolsey said. King William II nodded. He had an intuitive understanding of the army's opinion. Since these important leaders of the army have clearly expressed their opposition, this undoubtedly represents the opinion of the entire army. However, William II also had his own ideas. The conflict between Xiao Maoki and Qin Tian has become more and more acute now, which is very unfavorable for gathering the power of Germany and winning future wars. What's more, William II didn't want Qin Tian to succeed to the throne without the support of the army after his death. William II could also understand Qin Tian's mood. It was precisely because of this reason that Qin Tian would find another way, hoping to expand his influence in the army. Little Malky couldn't help showing a smile on his face when he saw this situation. He believes that even William II will not object when the army is united. After all, the German Empire was built with a strong army. The army has the greatest influence in the empire. Even the emperor had to consider the opinion of the army. Everyone, I can understand your feelings. However, in my opinion, the Navy does not seem to challenge the army. The Navy hopes to establish a professional landing combat force, so that when it lands in the UK in the future, it can reduce casualties as much as possible. This is undoubtedly very beneficial to the empire. William II said. After William II said these words, the faces of Moltke, von Falkenhayn, and Wolsey suddenly changed. Before, they thought that William II would be on their side when the army was united. But now it seems that William II's attitude has changed, and he is obviously inclined to the Navy. And this will undoubtedly make things change a lot. Your Majesty, if the Navy has the funds to form the Marine Corps, it is better to invest these funds in the construction of warships. After all, the Royal Navy must be defeated before they can land on the British mainland. Now, the Navy has not even done this. It's too arrogant to start talking about planning to land in the British mainland. Xiaomeoki blurted out, after thinking about it. William II's complexion suddenly became a little ugly. The German Navy can be said to have developed and grown under the hands of William II. He has always counted this as one of his greatest exploits. But now, little Malky actually laughed at the German Navy's inability to defeat the British Royal Navy, which was undoubtedly unacceptable to William II. If it wasn't for little Malky being his best friend, William II would have turned his back on him long ago. After Xiaomeoki finished speaking, he also realized his mistake. But the words spoken are like water poured out. How can we take them back? Von Falkenhayn and General Waldsee both grumbled inwardly. Let's listen to the opinions of the Navy first, and then talk about it, William II said with a straight face. When the three of Xiaomeoki went to the palace, Qin Tian and Marshal Count Tirpitz also received the news, and they also rushed to the palace. Both of them knew that the establishment of the Marine Corps depended on William II's decision today. After receiving the order to summon William II, the two arrived at William II's office in just a few minutes. Tirpitz, the army strongly opposes the establishment of the Marine Corps by the Navy. Do you have any opinion on this? William II asked blankly. Your Majesty, the formation of the Marine Corps is the Navy's own business. It seems that there is no need to listen to the army's opinion. Tirpitz's attitude was also very tough. Tirpitz, how can you say that? You are breaking the rules. If the army also builds a fleet, what will the Navy think? Little Malky was furious. Does the army want to build a fleet? The Navy will not refuse, and we will raise our hands in agreement. Marshal Tirpitz replied directly. Little Maoki was speechless immediately. How could the army build a fleet? Warships are a waste of money. A capital ship costs tens of millions of marks. If the army has so much money, it can go to form an infantry division. Tirpitz, is the Navy trying to provoke the army? Xiaomeoki was furious. Little Moldk, the Navy doesn't mean to provoke the army. We do this entirely for the benefit of the Empire. Tirpitz said. Okay, both of you. Stop arguing. The Navy will form the Marine Corps, and it will not compete with the Army for power. The Marine Corps will not form as many troops as the Army, with a maximum of 5 divisions. And, the 5 divisions will be formed in the next few years, not all at once. I guarantee that the Marine Corps will never pose any threat to the Army. Qin Tian said. Little Moldk still wants to object, but William II has made it clear at this time. In this case, I think the army has no reason to object. William II said. Under such circumstances, apart from Moldk, von Falkenhayn and Waldsee immediately expressed no objection. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, Military Power. With William II's explicit support, everything becomes much easier. Even though little Maoki still objected, von Falkenhayn and Waldsee no longer objected. In their view, the Marine Corps with only 5 divisions would pose no threat to the army at all. Those words of Xiaomeoki before were a little too alarmist. After the meeting ended, Xiaomeoki left angrily. He was very unwilling in his heart, even though the matter was a foregone conclusion. His dissatisfaction with Qin Tian and even William II was deeply planted in his heart. Qin Tian and Marshal Count Tirpitz left, after expressing their thanks to William II. However, at the gate of the palace, I met von Falkenhayn who was waiting here. His Royal Highness, if it is convenient, I will send you to the Deutsche Industries Group. Von Falkenhayn said proactively. Qin Tian nodded. He knew that von Falkenhayn had something to tell him. Your Excellency, Marshal, I will leave it to you to be responsible for the formation of the Marine Corps. However, we must strive for excellence in the selection of personnel. We only have 5 divisions, so the troops of the 5 divisions must be only the ace unit will do. Qin Tian looked serious. His Royal Highness, I understand. Marshal Earl Tirpitz understood what Qin Tian meant. The army will never allow the size of the Marine Corps to exceed 5 divisions. Therefore, they can only use this foundation to find ways to improve the combat effectiveness of the troops as much as possible by selecting excellent soldiers, well-equipped weapons, and hard training. Other than that, there is simply no other way. Afterwards, King K got into von Falkenhayn's car. This is a Daimler A-Class. After the A-Class car was launched, it was immediately sought after, and now it has become a must-have car for successful people in the whole of Germany and even most European countries. Although the price is very expensive, it is also in short supply. German military and political officials also immediately changed their cars from B-Class cars to A-Class cars. Of course, the big reason is that the price of the A-Class cars provided by Daimler to the government and the military is relatively much cheaper than the market price. His Royal Highness, I'm sorry for the establishment of the Marine Corps by the Navy. The entire army is against it, so I have no other choice. Von Falkenhayn explained. He was afraid that Qin Tian would have a bad opinion of him because of this matter. Don't worry, Your Excellency Minister of War, I can understand your situation. Qin Tian nodded. He knew that, even if von Falkenhayn was the Minister of War, he could not compete with the will of the entire army. What's more, there was a little Maoki watching him, eager to completely empty von Falkenhayn. Qin Tian still attaches great importance to being able to von Falkenhayn. After all, he is the number 2 figure in the army. If Qin Tian wants to further expand his influence in the army, he must obtain the support of von Falkenhayn. Of course, Qin Tian also knew why von Falkenhayn would support him. It was nothing more than wanting to squeeze the little Maoki who was riding on his head. If von Falkenhayn can always support him, and after he takes power, let von Falkenhayn also serve as Chief of the General Staff, that is not impossible. Your Highness, the Chief of Staff expressed strong opposition to the establishment of the Marine Corps by the Navy. Not only that, but he also wanted to curb His Highness's influence in the army. It can be seen that the Chief of Staff strongly opposes His Royal Highness, said von Falkenhayn. I know that. If possible, I would of course want to replace him. However, Father still trusts him very much. Therefore, I have nothing to do with him for a while. Qin Tian said. Von Falkenhayn nodded. Little Maoki is also relying on this, so he is so confident. Minister of War, do you have any suggestions? Qin Tian asked. Von Falkenhayn thought for a while, and then said, Your Highness, you may try to directly control an army. According to the tradition of the German Empire, as the Crown Prince, His Highness is qualified to become an army when war breaks out. The Commander-in-Chief, who went to the front line to fight. Now, although the war has not yet broken out, the situation is too tense, and it seems that it will not be long before the war breaks out. Your Highness can definitely ask His Majesty to get acquainted with the army first, to be able to better command troops in future wars. Qin Tian couldn't help, but his eyes lit up. The Crown Prince went to the front line to fight. This is the tradition of the German Empire. If he can directly control an army, he can equip and train the army according to his own wishes. Qin Tian believed that with his current strength, he could arm this army to the teeth and train it to become the most powerful army in the world. Moreover, this is also a good opportunity for him to expand his influence in the army. But at the same time, Qin Tian also has great difficulties in achieving this goal. In particular, he was not from the army, and he even finished the Naval Academy. It may be very difficult to convince the public, even though he has shown extremely powerful abilities in other aspects. But it is still a bit unrealistic to let William II hand over an army to him with peace of mind. I'm not from the army, and I don't have the ability to command troops. Will your Majesty agree? The army may also have objections to this. Qin Tian said with a frown. Your Highness, with your status and status, you don't need to lead the army yourself. You only need to choose a qualified deputy, and everything will be fine. I believe that there are enough elites in the army for His Highness to dispatch. Nothing will happen. There is a problem, von Falkenhayn said. Qin Tian nodded. He was very satisfied with this proposal of von Falkenhayn. If he can personally control an army, this will greatly increase his strength. The great man said that political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Even if this is the German Empire, this truth also applies. If Qin Tian can control the military power, even if Crown Prince William wakes up immediately and wants to take back the crown prince that belongs to him, it will be impossible. The ambition to control the military power began to take root in Qin Tian's heart in an instant. Minister of War, thank you for your suggestion. I will seriously consider it. At that time, I will need your further support. Qin Tian said sincerely, Your Highness, I will fully support you. Von Falkenhayn promised. Chapter 124, East Prussian Army. The next night, Qin Tian rarely returned to the palace to have dinner with William II and his wife. With Crown Prince William becoming a vegetable, William II and his wife paid more and more attention to Qin Tian. If Crown Prince William never wakes up, Qin Tian's weight in their hearts will surpass Crown Prince William sooner or later, and it will take time to accumulate slowly. After dinner, the family walked around in the garden, and William II said to Qin Tian, Oscar, go to my office. Yes, father. Qin Tian nodded. Qin Tian is not only the crown prince of the German Empire, but also the owner of the German industrial group, which makes Qin Tian usually very busy. It is rare to go back to the palace a few times in a month. And every time he came back, he almost always had something to discuss with William II. Therefore, William II knew that Qin Tian would go to the Three Treasures Hall for nothing. Arriving at William II's office, Essen von Jonnereit had already had coffee delivered to him. Oscar, tell me, what's the matter? William II asked bluntly. Qin Tian didn't go around in circles anymore, and directly expressed his dissatisfaction with the development of the army in recent years. Father, the German Imperial Army is #1 in the world. However, in the past few decades, the Imperial Army has not made much progress. It seems to be completely immersed in the glory of invincibility at the beginning. Not only is the equipment updated slowly, but even the combat thinking there is no progress, as if it is still stuck in the last war. Regarding this, I'm very worried. Once this big war breaks out, whether our army can defeat the powerful enemy. Qin Tian looked worried. The expression of Wilhelm II also became serious. The fighting power of the German army is indeed famous all over the world. Relying on one war after another, the German army has even become synonymous with invincibility. This also greatly deterred those European powers, enabling Germany to become one of the most powerful countries in Europe and the world. But, after all, that was the German army decades ago. Once the current German army breaks out of war, can it still achieve the same record as their predecessors? Although William II still believed that the German army would not disappoint him, he was not absolutely sure. The development of the Imperial Army in recent years is indeed somewhat unsatisfactory. However, you still have to have confidence in the Imperial Army. Decades ago, we were able to beat those enemies to the ground and cede land to us for compensation. So now, our army still has such capabilities. William II summoned up his confidence. Yes, father, our army is very strong, I don't deny this. But our enemy is getting stronger day by day. What's more, this time we have more than one enemy. Once the war breaks out, what we are going to face will be a military alliance formed by Britain, France, Russia and other countries. The British army is not strong and can be ignored. But France and the United States cannot be ignored. Although the combat effectiveness of the Russian army is relatively poor, there are many troops. Considering Russia's population size, they can even mobilize tens of millions of troops to fight against us. Therefore, we must not take this war lightly, Qin Tian said solemnly. King William II nodded with a serious face. Then, Oscar, what do you think we should do? Father, in order to be able to defeat powerful enemies in future wars, we must reform the army, not only to equip the troops with new weapons, but also to update tactics, so that our army can survive in future wars. In war, win at the least cost. However, if you do this, it will cause a strong backlash in the army. The army resistance to reform will be very high. If you are not careful, it may cause very bad effects. It may even lead to turmoil in the army. This is also very bad for us, said William II. As an emperor, he must be cautious. Father, I have a solution, which may be useful. Only at this time did Qin Tian express his purpose. Oh, what way? William II asked. According to the practice of the German Empire, as the Crown Prince, I have the right to command an army to participate in the war. Although, no war has broken out yet. But the international situation is undoubtedly already very tense. I hope to be able to command an army in advance, equip and train this army according to my wishes. If this army can perform well, then father has a reason to attack other troops, Qin Tian said. After finishing speaking, Qin Tian looked at William II worriedly, waiting for his answer. He knew that William II would guess his intentions. I was also worried that William II, who was arrogant and suspicious, would veto his approach. In that case, he will fall short. Not only did he fail to obtain military power, but it also made William II wary of him. William II frowned and thought for a long time. He was certainly not a fool to become the emperor of the empire. He knew that Qin Tian wanted to use this opportunity to get his hands on the army. However, William II didn't care about this and instead praised Qin Tian's ambition. If a crown prince doesn't even have this bit of ambition, then he is too unmotivated. Oscar, can you really do it? I know that you are extremely talented in business and shipbuilding design. But, in terms of the army, William II was a little worried. Don't worry, father, I won't let you down. What's more, even if I'm not a professional, but if there are two professionals to cooperate, I don't think there is any problem in leading an army well. Qin Tian looked very confident. King William II thought for a while and finally nodded. Okay, Oscar, I understand what you mean. I also agree. I will raise this point at the imperial meeting tomorrow. William II said. Yes, father. Qin Tian was very satisfied. In the imperial meeting on the second day, William II formally proposed to appoint Qin Tian as the commander of a force of the army. Although he was strongly opposed by Little Maoki, but under the circumstances that everyone else supported him, Little Maoki's objection was completely useless. Of course, the main armies of the German army already have commanders. Therefore, Qin Tian could only choose a lesser legion. In the end, William II appointed Qin Tian as the commander of the 8th Army of the German Imperial Army. This army has another name, the East Prussian Army. Chapter 125, Deputy. East Prussia is a piece of land located in the southern part of the Baltic Sea. This is the birthplace of the Hohenzollern family and the bridgehead of the German Empire against Russia. In the German Empire, it has a very important position. According to the Schlieffen Plan, once the war breaks out, the German army will be divided into 8 corps from the 1st to the 8th. Among them, the first 7 corps will be deployed on the Western Front, striving to defeat France in the shortest possible time. The task of the 8th Army is to cooperate with the Austro-Hungarian Empire and contain the Russians. According to Schlieffen's estimate, it will take 6 to 8 weeks for Russia to complete its mobilization. So, Germany has a month to beat France. Prior to this, the 8th Army had only to defend East Prussia. It's just that after Little Maoki succeeded, he began to modify the Schlieffen Plan. It not only reduced the troops on the Western Front, but also weakened the right-wing troops on the Western Front. When the German army attacked France, it eventually led to insufficient attack power and had to stop tens of kilometers away from Paris. Qin Tian wanted to change this, so he volunteered to be the commander of the 8th Army. At that time, once the Little Moltke wants to strengthen the East Prussian army, he can clearly express his rejection and minimize the damage of the Little Moltke to the Schlieffen Plan. Oscar, have you really decided to serve as the commander of the 8th Army? If you want to go back on your word, I can reissue the order and appoint you as the commander of other armies. William II said. William II certainly knew the Schlieffen Plan well. He knew how much pressure the 8th Army would face once war broke out. The mobilization of Russia will take 6 to 8 weeks to complete. However, don't forget that Russia's standing army is as high as 1.4 million. After the outbreak of the war, these standing armies may launch an attack on East Prussia as soon as possible. Even if the transportation facilities in Russia are very bad, the Russian army will definitely attack before the German army defeats France. Relying on the troops of the 8th Army alone, it will be very difficult to resist the attack of hundreds of thousands or more of the Russian army. According to Schlieffen plan, the 8th Army will only have 10 infantry divisions, with a total strength of about 160,000 people. This is the situation before the war broke out, and after mobilization was full. In the case of insufficient personnel, the 8th Army has only more than 100,000 people. Father, I have already decided to serve as the commander of the 8th Army, Qin Tian said. Once the war breaks out, are you sure you can resist the Russian attack? Don't expect the Austrians to provide you with much support. The combat effectiveness of the Austro-Hungarian army is very bad. If they can withstand personal attacks, they will not. If we need our support, then it is God's blessing. William II also had great distrust of the fighting power of the Austro-Hungarian army. I know. Father, I'm sure that once the war breaks out, I will be able to withstand the Russian attack, Qin Tian said confidently. He has already decided that, after becoming the commander of the 8th Army, he will immediately arm this army according to his plan. Even if it costs a lot of money, he must arm this army to the teeth. In this case, it is simply delusional for the poorly equipped Russians to take advantage of the outbreak of the war and invasion East Prussia. Even, it can make the Russians fall hard in East Prussia. Okay, Oscar, since you have already made up your mind, I won't say anything more. I believe that with your intelligence, you won't do stupid things. I also believe that you will succeed, William II said. Yes, father, Qin Tian nodded. After the new year, you go to Königsberg. Come back after sorting out the affairs of the 8th Army, William II said. Yes, father. Qin Tian hesitated for a moment, and then continued. Father, this time I'm going to Königsberg. I hope father can send 2 people to me. Oh, which 2 people? William II asked. General Paul von Hindenburg and Colonel Erich von Ludendorff. Qin Tian said 2 names. These 2 people are famous in another time and space. It is also the Commander-in-Chief of Staff of the German 8th Army in another time and space. It was with their cooperation that the German 8th Army was able to fight on the Eastern Front and suffered heavy losses from the Russian army. Now, Qin Tian appeared and was appointed as the commander of the 8th Army, but he hopes that the 8th Army can achieve greater glory under the leadership of the 2 of them. After all, as the Crown Prince, Qin Tian couldn't stay in the 8th Army forever. He still had other things to do. The daily training can only be done by Hindenburg and Ludendorff. William II's face was a bit ugly. He knew the 2 people Qin Tian mentioned. Paul von Hindenburg is the famous general. Although Erich von Ludendorff was only a colonel, he had outstanding talents and was well known in the army general staff. It's just that Paul von Hindenburg just made a big mistake. That is, in the army exercise that just passed, the command troops defeated the exercise troops led by William II, which made William II face dull. William II was originally a headstrong and conceited person. This is naturally unacceptable. It also made him dislike Paul von Hindenburg. Colonel Ludendorff can be dispatched to you, but Hindenburg is a competitive person. Are you sure he is suitable to assist you? William II asked. Father, although General Hindenburg's personality is a bit bad, his personal talent is beyond doubt. I believe that this time he will definitely regret it very much. If he is given another chance, he will definitely not. It will disappoint us. Qin Tian looked determined. King William II thought about it, but in the end he still didn't reject Qin Tian's request. Although he doesn't like Hindenburg, he has to admit that Hindenburg's ability is still very strong. Alright, Oscar. This time, I will make an exception to help you once, William II said. Thank you, father. Qin Tian was very happy. At Qin Tian's request, William II will then appoint Paul von Hindenburg as the deputy commander of the 8th Army, and Erich von Ludendorff will be promoted from colonel to brigadier general, and serve as the acting staff officer of the 8th Army long. Generally speaking, the chief of staff of a legion is at least a major general. Even if Erich von Ludendorff was promoted, he was still not qualified to become the chief of staff of a legion. He could only act as an agent first, and then find a way to get promoted after a period of time. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.